have to be honest to that and just transparent. It's like, this is what I'm doing. So growing that out, the dog agrees with me. And so the whole thing is just,
Nice.
First, we have Adam as a master modeler and model finishing techniques pioneer. He developed and perfected many of them. Damn, I got to start again.
No, go keep this stuff.
He's a master fisherman.
Yeah,
He's a master fisherman.
That's what I did before I did modeling.
You're a man of many hats, Adam.
I know, huh?
So
TJ, are you on deck here if we need you?
No, I'm good. I'll get it.
TJ's like buzzed out. He's gonna pass out in that chair in about 5 minutes, man. No.
Welcome to the Plastic Posse Podcast, episode 27. This episode represents our 1-year anniversary as a podcast. Joining me in the posse, we have Doug Smith, TJ Holler, and John Bonani. TJ couldn't join us tonight, but
he's here in spirit.
Guys, this first year has been a lot of fun, and it's going to be a complete blast getting to meet everybody in person next week in Las Vegas. Masks or not, who cares? I am so excited, John, to meet you in person and just to have a blast.
Yeah, same. I'll show up in a bio suit. I don't really care. I'm just happy they're having it. You know, my mindset is one thing, the model show, friends, having a good time. Everything else is just white noise, and I am so excited to get there.
Absolutely. I am really stoked. Never done this before. And to be honest, I am so positive about how this is going to go that I'm already kind of thinking about next year. So let's make this great, guys.
Absolutely. Well, for those of you out in the posse that don't know, we got to guest on episode 44 of Plastic Model Mojo, and we kind of talked about this same topic. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you know, it was a great time. You know, I really enjoy talking to Dave and Mike. I think their show is fantastic. They have great chemistry, and it was really welcoming from them to appear on their show. And again, we were talking about the show, talking about models, and again, it only amps up my excitement. So happy to be there.
Really welcoming until Dave gave you the double deuce.
Yeah, exactly. Our listeners can't see that, but
yeah, got both barrels on that one.
I guess that didn't make the final cut, right?
No, it actually did.
Oh.
Mike left it in there.
Oh, man, I didn't finish the episode. I need to finish it.
But just a reminder, all of us in the posse will be there. We'll have a table. So please come and see us. And whether we're at our table or we're just walking around, and we will have some tank craft and some Sean's custom model tools swag. So we'll be giving some of that away. And we'll also all be helping judge. So come out and say hi, talk to us. We're really, really excited to meet all of you. One thing that I found really, really intriguing is the video that Andy dropped last night teasing a mystery kit announcement, which most people think is a new Tamiya kit. John, what do you think?
Yeah, you know, I'm really excited about it. And I think I'm most excited about that the IPMS Nationals is that venue for the announcement. I think that is super cool, super exciting for everyone that's going to be there in person. I hope to be standing there with a camera going live on our Facebook page. So this is cool. Maybe we should take bets on what we think it's going to be. I've heard it's going to be something green. I don't know. That could be just hearsay. I'd love to see a new half track, like an M3. I've seen some other comments. Scott, what do you think it's going to be?
M18 Hellcat.
On this episode, we're interviewing David Goldfinch, the Podfather, from the modeling podcast On the Bench. He was they were the very first scale modeling podcast. They're from Down Under, and he was also one of our first guests ever. We also have our friend Stanley George, who was our very first Modeler's Minute guest. And if that's not enough, we have an awesome roundtable. We've got 3 of the most popular guests we've had: Adam Wilder, Mike Rinaldi, and Uncle Night Shift, Martin Kovac. And you no doubt have heard from our cold open. We had a great time with this segment.
Thanks, Doug. You know, now it's time to just acknowledge our awesome sponsors. You know, the Plastic Posse is sponsored by Tankcraft.
Nothing can ruin your day or your Tankcraft cutting mat like spilled liquid cement. Tankcraft has the solution, the glue base. Milled from solid 6061 green anodized aluminum, this thing will keep your bench top looking smart and spill-free for years to come. I've got it, and I love it. The combination of weight and a sticky rubber pad on the bottom make them extremely stable. They even come with an optional insert to accommodate most major brands of square and round bottled cement. Pick one up with one of their beautiful Pro Modeler mats and start your next build on a bench to be proud of. Remember, Tankcraft products come with a 30-day warranty, and don't forget the Plastic Posse Podcast exclusive offer. Use the code POSSE15 at checkout for your 15% discount. Head on over to tankcraft.com, that's tankcraft.com, and order your very own Tankcraft glue base or cutting mat. It just looks better on the bench.
And also, the Triple P is sponsored by Sean's Custom Model Tools, the makers of the Goodman Models Super Sanding Blocks. These blocks allow you to have controlled precision sanding that yields fantastic results. Head on over to goodmanmodels.com and order a set. So if you don't have a set of these super sanding blocks, please send us an email at plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com, and we will have a random drawing announce the lucky winner in episode 28.
Episode 27 of the Triple P is also sponsored by Drew Savage and Rick Lewis, along with our regular crew of Posse Outriders, Terry, Paul, Ethan, Jamie, Steve, and Rick. These Posse members all help us to bring you this podcast. If you'd like to donate to the Posse, just go to our website, plasticpossepodcast.buzzsprout.com. In the upper right-hand corner, there is a heart icon. Just click this and then donate any amount you would like. The Posse is just one of several scale modeling podcasts. If you just head on over to modelpodcasts.com, you'll see a list of all of the scale modeling podcasts along with artwork and links, and even some modeling blogs as well.
Thanks for that, Scott. In typical episodes, we would have our segments around social media shout outs and a discussion topic. But today, really our discussion for this special episode surrounds a big thank you and a thank you to many people. And we'd like to just take a few moments to mention who they are, acknowledge their support, and really, again, just thank them. This would not be possible without them. It's incredibly motivating to have their support. I want to start off by thanking our two sponsors, Tankcraft and Sean's Custom Model Tools. We will have some of their products from both of these partners at our table at the Nats, and we will be giving them away. These sponsors are very supportive and helpful in bringing the Posse to you, and it wouldn't be possible without their support. So we would appreciate it if you would just support these great companies for your modeling needs.
I'd like to add to that. I have the Tankcraft P47 cutting mat on my bench, and it's beautiful. I couldn't be more happy with it. And those super sanding blocks are just a wonder to use.
I use the super sanding blocks on every build, and other than I've always got my Tankcraft mat covered up because I'm afraid to spill anything on it, but because it's so beautiful, I just don't want to get any paint on that Sherman tank. So great sponsors. So thanks so much, John. Great point.
I want to personally thank and take this moment to thank our awesome guests, and specifically our Modelers Minute guests. It's always a pleasure to talk to modelers, hear their unique stories, hear their passion, hear what motivates them, and just hear what they're working on. It's incredibly motivating to hear from these individuals. Every time I listen to them talk, it's always fun. You learn something cool, and most importantly, you create a friendship. And I am very hopeful that we have a chance to meet some of these friends in Vegas, and if not in Vegas, in person at some point. And we will always stay in touch virtually because, the world is so much smaller now because of it. And we're very thankful for that. We're very thankful for them taking their time to, come on and just, share a piece of their hobby. So with that, just really appreciate it all. Thank you.
In that vein, TJ wasn't able to join us, but I think if he was here trying to speak for him, I think he would thank our other awesome guests as well, besides the Modelers Minute, all of the people in the hobby that have stopped by and taken their time. We've had the pleasure of speaking with some of the greatest modelers and modeling influencers that are out there, and it's just been a lot of fun and really terrific getting to know our guests, from John Bias to Lincoln Wright to Spencer Pollard, Brett Green, to figure painters in other genres, Enrique, Race for Terra, Luther, the Mighty Brush, Christoph, and then of course to the guys in this episode, Adam, Mike, and Martin. I mean, just these guys have taken the time to spend with us and allow us to get to know them and to bring great content to all of the posse out there. So I just want to really say thank you to all those guests.
I want to take the time to thank all the rest of the posse members. You all know who you are. You've been there from the beginning. We may not have actually spoken to you, but you've supported us from day one. We get comments all the time on Facebook, and I don't have a list of names, but I'll start with the first one. After episode 1, Ray Davis from Sydney, Australia, contacted Scott, TJ, and I. We became Facebook friends almost right away. We actually have gotten to know each other quite well. He sends us messages all the time. There are some of you guys that are regulars that are always commenting and sending your thanks to us, and we really appreciate all of you. We appreciate all the help we've gotten from our group builds, all the support there with the T-3485 build, the TIE Fighter build, and now the Spitfire build. There's so much participation here. This community is so awesome. We just want to thank you all for that. We do appreciate the fact that we can talk about relevant issues in the hobby, have deeper discussions about the hobby in a positive and inclusive manner. We remain committed to those. We aren't going to stop. And in the coming year, you can expect more of that from the Triple P. One last thank you. It's to TJ, John, and Scott for putting up with me and letting me be part of this, because this is fun. It's been a lot of fun for the last year being part of something I never expected to be part of, which is a podcast. Yeah. And so thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Doug. Before I get started on who I want to thank 3 individuals in particular who took some time and were very, very generous with me when I had this idea. That's specifically Mike Basquette, Godfather Dave from On the Bench, and Stuart Clark from Scale Model Podcast. All 3 of these guys took the time to talk with me. They were very welcoming, and without them, the posse would never have come into being. So thanks, you 3. Really appreciate it. For my thanks, I want to thank 2 groups of people. So first of all, I want to thank all of the listeners. The posse was created as a labor of love, and we had no idea that this podcast would be so much fun and also be so much work. So seriously, thank you all so much. I also want to take a couple of moments to thank another group of people, and that's my 3 co-hosts, without whom, obviously, this never would have happened. So, Doug, first of all, thanks for allowing me to drag you way out of your comfort zone and do something you never would have even considered. Thanks for your enthusiasm, your creativity, and your passion for modeling.
You are welcome. Thanks for everything, man.
TJ, even though you're not here, thanks for being willing to jump into the posse with Doug and I, despite never having actually met us in person. Thanks for helping us with the social media stuff and being our bridge to other genres and sharing all of your amazing models that you continue to crank out at an incredible rate. That's probably why he's not here. He probably is resting up so that, he could build 2 or 3 more before Nats. And then lastly, JB, thanks for trusting us and being willing to commit your time and bring your perspective to the posse. You are our very first guest, and you have really helped the posse become even better since you joined. Thanks for your passion as well, and for knowing literally everybody in this hobby, man.
Well, thanks for having me along. I feel like we should clink glasses and take a swig now after this. So no, it's awesome, Scott. I'm happy to be here. I'm very grateful for this and grateful to know you and Doug and TJ. It's been a wild ride, and I can't wait for another year.
It's really fitting, I think, that the 1-year anniversary of the posse, it certainly wasn't planned this way, but is sort of culminating in the 4 of us getting to meet in Las Vegas, going to Nats together, sharing good times. I think it's really, really fitting, and it sounds like it's going to need to be a tradition moving forward.
Oh yeah, I'm always going to be there. It's going to be great. But maybe this is a tangent, but I'll also say it kind of reminds me of the movie Hangover. I mean, 4 guys going to Vegas, and we have a Doug, so we might be in trouble.
Just to wrap it up, here's to another great year for the posse.
All right, well, let's go into our first interview with the Godfather, Dave from Down Under.
All right, welcome into another Plastic Posse interview spot. Today, all of us are here, and we are joined by the Godfather himself, Dave Goldfinch from On the Bench. How are you, Dave?
Yeah, really good, guys. Really good. Very pleased to be here and to help you celebrate with your first anniversary. Wow, what an achievement.
Well, thank you very much. You were pretty instrumental in helping us get started. And tell us how you guys are doing down there. I think you guys are under another lockdown.
Victoria has just come out of another lockdown, so we just got some more restrictions on us. But New South Wales, and as we record this, Queensland have just gone into a lockdown. So, yeah, you know what? It sucks, and it is what it is. I've just started annual leave. I've got a couple of weeks of leave, so that's great. So I'll sit down and do some building. I haven't touched anything on the bench for a long time now, so I'm really looking forward to spending some time on the bench and getting a few things built, actually.
So, Dave, fortunately, we have in about 2.5 weeks the IPMS Nationals. Really disappointed you guys can't come. Do you think you'll be attending maybe next year in Omaha?
Yeah, how do you feel about Nebraska?
Yeah, Vegas to Omaha.
Well, I've driven through Nebraska once upon a time, and without upsetting anybody who comes from Nebraska, there's not much to see as you drive through.
All 5 of them.
Yeah. We've been talking about definitely getting over there for next year, seeing we couldn't get here this year, and we're really bummed out about that. But it is what it is, and you just got to sort of move on and move forward. Absolutely. If it is in Nebraska or Omaha, isn't that home of like SAC or something like that? Or they've got a couple of museums up there or something?
Yeah, there's, I believe it might be called the Strategic Air Command Museum. Regardless, it's a nice museum. They actually have a Vulcan there, which I think is the only one in the United States. The last time I went to the Omaha Nats, it was a few years ago. It was actually a lot of fun. They opened the museum to the show attendees at night. There was a tour, and we got to climb around the B-36. They had an awesome kind of like open bar and hors d'oeuvres set up there, and just kind of had our free range of the museum. So I actually love the Omaha show. It's at a great location, great museum, and also just great people. So we hope to see you there.
Well, I can't speak for the other two guys, but certainly for Julian and Ian, but I'll definitely be there for Omaha. You mentioned the magic word. I think you said open bar, so I'll definitely be there for that.
Yes. Well, you come sit at our table. I always got a bottle of Crown with me, so I'm happy to share.
And you'll like that museum. It's you walk up to the doors, and there's just outside a bunch of rockets sitting right out front.
Awesome. That's awesome. Definitely going. So just to spin it back around, you guys are all set for Nationals, are you?
Yeah, I know. I got my plane ticket a couple weeks ago. I think everyone else is ready to go too, right? I've had my hotel for months. I got that like back in February when it was still pretty cheap.
Yeah, I still got to finish some projects. I got one sitting right next to me, but yeah, I'm definitely stoked, ready to go. Been ready to go for the last year, so.
Yeah, Doug and I are actually driving in a car down, so we're about 6-7 hours away.
Now, I just imagine the movie Dumb and Dumber when I think of you two driving together.
Can see our moped, yeah.
Rolling down in your 84 Sheepdog.
I think Scott traded it for a moped.
I was about to say that would be a hell on 4 wheels. Those two guys locked up together for that period of time. Lock up your daughters; they're coming.
Yeah, they got the siren on. So, Dave, going back to the Nationals, but maybe not ours, but the Australian Nationals. I'm not too familiar with it. Probably our listeners aren't as well. What time of the year is that typically held, and where?
Typically, it's held in June in Melbourne, and it coincides with a long weekend that we have down here for the Queen's birthday. This year, obviously, and last year too, it was last year it was completely cancelled. This year, they've moved it to October, but it's only going to be for 2 days, so it's sort of like a shortened version. And yeah, we're really hanging out to get there. As you know, we always do a recording from the shows that we go to. I think we've done it for the last 2, maybe 3. And it's always a lot of fun, you catch up with all these people that you haven't seen before. A lot of listeners come up. Ian had the interesting time where he was talking, and some guy tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Hey, you sound like that dude from that podcast." And then he says, "Yes, I am." So you get a lot. Yeah, it's the biggest show in Australia without sort of pumping up our own sort of tyres. You get about, last time I think we had about 1,200 entries, I think. You know, you got to consider our population base and everything. It's not bad at all. And there are some great shows in the other states as well. I haven't had the opportunity to get up there yet, but certainly something we're planning to do as we finally come out of all these silly COVID restrictions. Definitely it's on our plan to sort of get around there a bit more and visit some of the other shows.
Yeah, if there's one place in Australia I want to visit, it's the Australian Armour Museum that I feel like they just have a bottomless pit of money where they just pull from. They have a money tree. I'm convinced Australia has a money tree because I don't know how those guys are doing it, but is that a plane flight away from you? I assume it's not close. It's Cairns, so, right? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, Cairns. So it's definitely a trip for me. I think it's about a 3-4 hour plane trip for me to get there. We've actually spoken to the guys from the museum. I think we had them on about episode 4 or 5. Yeah, the guy who actually owns the museum is just a real tank nut and happens to have quite a lot of money behind him, and he just decided to build this great big tank museum because he loves tanks. And lucky for us, he shares it with the public. So he opens the doors and they have a tank drive weekend where you can go and drive in the tanks and all that sort of stuff. Much like Bovington sort of thing, a big sort of display like they do in Bovington. And I think this year they're actually doing a model show from there. So that'll be
I saw that.
Yeah. So it's definitely on our bucket list to get up there and have a look. Yeah, if you like armour, there's definitely that one. And the other one is obviously the home of the Australian Armour Corps, which is in Puckapunyal, down in Melbourne. That's another good place to get to. Not as many moving tanks or operating tanks, but certainly some very interesting ones that you'd never see anywhere else around the world.
Yeah, I think the first one, the Australian Armour Museum, I think that show might be this weekend because I saw a commercial for it on Facebook. They mounted the turret of the Tiger on the hull just for the show. And then they also commented that, World of Tanks was sponsoring it, and they were going to have not only vehicles, but actually the model show. And then it seemed like they were going to broadcast kind of modeling seminars as well, they were saying.
Oh, okay.
Which was pretty cool. Sound
like you're a bit more up on it than I am. I need to go and have a look on Facebook and see what's going on.
I'm just obsessed with tanks, so.
Definitely, yeah. Look, if you do come out, give us a hoy. We'll come up and join you for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and if you come over to the States, let us know. Maybe you can stop in Colorado, Utah, hang out with us, and then we can make the trek over to Omaha.
Well, it's not that much of a drive from Colorado to Omaha. It's only, about a day or something?
Yeah, it's not too bad at all, I don't think. I haven't moved there yet.
The Denver airport is in Nebraska, I'm pretty sure. they when they moved their airport, it used to be right in downtown Denver. The last time I flew in there, it's like, I didn't want to go to Kansas. I wanted to go to Colorado.
That is true. I was just there yesterday.
Well, Dave, maybe we can, maybe the Posse can supply you with some audio and some pictures from the Nats while we're down there. We can be your roving reporters.
Well, I think between you guys and all the other guys who are rolling there's going to be plenty of coverage, which is really exciting for those of us who can't attend. So more than happy to sort of look at doing something like that. It sounds like a great idea. Hey, let's flip this conversation around a bit and let's talk about the fact that you guys are celebrating your success of your first anniversary. I mean, come on, guys. That's really, really good in the podcasting world. So many guys sort of do a startup. They get depressed and don't see the numbers going up and just pull the pin. You guys have stuck through and look where you are now. I mean, you guys hold some of the records for some of the longest podcasts with some amazing guests that you get on. You guys must have a bottomless pit of money to get all these fantastic guys on. So let's talk about that. Let's celebrate that.
It's John. He knows everybody and he knows what to mail them to bribe them to come on the podcast.
Well, and Scott has me on here because he has my internet search history and is threatening to release it if I stop being on the podcast. So he's kind of got me blackmailed. I'm in trouble, but no, it's been fun. It's gone quick, to be honest. I really think it has. I remember sitting in this exact chair same setup, same everything. When, Scott and TJ and Doug, when I first talked to him, it was honestly feels like just yesterday. I remember that conversation. So it's been a whirlwind since. And, from my standpoint, there's only one person here that's really carrying the show, and that's Scott. I got to give him a public shout out. I know he does more work than I think all of us combined times 4. And he really does deserve all the credit for the show's growth and I believe success. So there it is, Scott. You didn't pay me to say that either.
I'm gonna go ahead and second that. But
no, he's absolutely right.
I'm also, it's funny that you said that, Dave, because I did a seminar for the DC IPMS, and one of the things I talked about was the podcast, because why not? And the first question I was asked was, so to get these guests, how does that work? Do you have to pay them to come on to the show? I was like, no, you just ask them, do you want to talk about what you love to do? And we have found that most people say, well, yeah, hell yeah, I do.
Yeah, well, thank you, Dave, for the kind words, and thank you for helping us out of the gate. We have gotten long, but we've been kind of committed here at the Posse to let the shows kind of live and breathe and develop. We don't have a set length. We just kind of let the shows happen. And we learned a lot of that from listening to you guys. You guys were really the pioneers, and, we learned a lot from you. And then we've tried to kind of put our own unique spin on it, try to be a little bit different.
Yeah, I think when you first spoke to me, we talked about show lengths, and I think I said to you, it finds its own sort of, or water finds its own level, to use a different term. So, the show will tell you how long it needs to be, and how long it needs to be, or how short it needs to be, depending on what you got going and who you're talking to.
So Dave, you brought up a good point there that I'd love to talk a little bit more on. You said, hanging in there with the low downloads and low views, that's something that, you hit right on the head. Podcasts are new in general, I think, to people, and certainly for our niche hobby. And I agree 100%, the numbers slowly grow, but, they seem to keep growing. So that's always a good thing. But I mean, you've been slugging along. How long have you been doing the podcast game for? Years, right?
Yeah, so we're up to season 5, which technically works out to be about 4 years now. We're coming up for our 5th year.
Jeez. Good Lord. It's like the Olympics. Jeez.
Yeah.
Training.
And when we first sort of started, we were ecstatic to see the numbers sort of jump from 5 listeners to 10. When we finally got 100 listeners, we cracked a beer and, sat around and patted ourselves on the back and said, how fantastic are we? And then it sort of sat there for a while, and it just slowly grows. But it's funny that modelers are more in tune to listening to YouTube than they are listening to podcasts, which I don't sort of get yet, but it's sort of, it's changing, I guess, slowly. Because you look at some of the numbers from the YouTube channels, and they're, pulling 60 or, 10,000 views per episode, that sort of stuff. If I got 10,000 views per episode of a podcast, oh my God, I think I don't know what I'd do. Crack a bottle of Dom Perignon champagne, I reckon. So you're right in what you're saying. It's a very slow burn, and you've got to be committed to maintaining. When you tell your audience you're going to be there every fortnight, you're going to maintain and be there every fortnight for them. You're going to try and find the same slot so your downloads appear in the same time. So, yeah, it's a real long, slow burn. But, we never sort of started this out to make any money, and that's certainly never been our intention. It's just a bit have a fun and have a yak. And I only started it because I couldn't find a podcast about modelling when I first wanted to listen to one. So, and here we are now with 6, 7 different modelling podcasts.
We're like rabbits.
Yeah, and you're closing in on 120 episodes here pretty quick?
Yeah, 100. I think the next one's 118 episode, and we've just snicked over the 300,000 downloads. So pretty happy with that at the moment.
Well, that's amazing. Congratulations, and way to go on kind of paving the way for this particular niche in the hobby.
Yeah, Dave, I'd love to ask a question. You've done all these episodes. Can you point back maybe what's been the most rewarding maybe moment, or even taking a step back further, what's the most rewarding thing that you've found that you found during these podcasts and hosting them throughout all this time?
I think the most rewarding thing is how much of a community we are. And given that we're in a very sort of solitary type of hobby where people sit in their basements or at their bench or at the kitchen table, and apart from those other weird people who go to like a model show or even go to a local club, by and large, it's a very insular hobby. And the amount of, can't tell you how many emails I've had from people who said, your show is fantastic. It helps me because I'm not able to get to a club meeting, not able to go to a show, and you guys are my local hobby club. And, to get that sort of feedback, that's fantastic. It really is. And while the intent was never to sort of do that, it's been one of the byproducts. And, I've had other people reach out to me who suffer from PTSD, and they say, how much of a great thing that modelling itself is helping them, and through that, how our podcast, and I say that as including you guys as well, how our podcast helps sort of reach out to those individuals. I've had an email from a guy who's only got one arm and he's a modeller, and just saying thanks very much for doing what you're doing. And you think, he's only got one arm and he models. That guy is amazing. How does he do that?
Is he from the States, Dave?
I think he might be. I don't know, because I always ask when people send an email just to give us their location, and sometimes they remember and sometimes they don't. But, I struggle doing modelling with two arms. God, this guy's doing it with one.
Yeah, I only bring it up because there's a one-armed modeler who comes to the IPMS Nationals. I've seen him several times, and he builds armor 35th scale, and they are absolutely fantastic. And I mean, you wouldn't, again, I can't imagine, just building a model with that circumstance. And I applaud it, and just really great work and truly inspiring for that matter. So I wonder if it's the same gentleman.
Don't know. Good question. Maybe if he turns up at Nats, you can ask him.
Yeah, I will.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess, we all have our laughs at listener feedback. Can you cite or talk about, you don't have to mention names, obviously, but what's like the funniest piece of listener feedback you've ever received that have just made you go like anything from that's great or WTF or what is this guy smoking? So it maybe share some of that, that joy that you've gotten from listeners.
Oh, it's funny. The Julian seems to attract a weird bunch of followers, and it always amuses Ian and myself to see what sort of people write in, and they claim that they're undying love for Julian and to be a Julian's jewel and all this sort of stuff, and that just cracks us up. We find it absolutely hilarious. And the funny part is that Julian is intensely embarrassed by all this, and which makes it even funnier. So there have been some really good emails that we've had and interactions, that's for sure.
Well, we with the first time that we met, I think we coined a term for you that seems to have kind of stuck and even kind of grown legs. We referred to you as the Godfather, and now there's even some people out there calling you the Podfather as well.
Yeah, I know. That's quite funny, actually. And, in some ways it's extremely touching as well. But the Podfather, because I love the Godfather movie anyway, and being half Italian, it sort of sticks with me. So it's extremely hilarious. And it's just funny how these things stick. And, it's a title I carry with pride now. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Well, in all seriousness, in the podcasting community and certainly in the scale modeling podcast arena, I think you've earned a lot of respect. And so, it was meant to be fun, but it certainly is a term of respect. So,
oh, absolutely. And
so when we see you in Omaha, will we have to kiss the ring? That's probably like a road wheel tire or something.
Yeah, something like that. There is a joke about kissing a ring, but I don't think I'll talk about it on this particular podcast.
All right. Well, we've got to address the elephant in the room here. So, Moosaroo Cup. You know, James Skiffins made a great video. And listeners, if you haven't seen that, you can probably see it on all of the podcast pages. The hijinks started with the Godfather here. I think he sent some Vegemite over to TJ to maybe try and get some sabotage in early in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I sent some Vegemite over to you guys just to try and put you off your game. I was hoping you'd take a great big slather of it and poison yourself or something, but obviously it hasn't worked because you're still here.
No, it did not. It did not work. Nice try though. I actually really like it. I didn't know what to make of it at first. I tried some on a cracker and I was like, okay, all right, not too bad. And then I tried some on some, I think it was some sour bread toast with a little bit of butter. I was like, yeah, I could do this. My kids like it too.
Well, you know,
I tell you what,
the underlying ingredient of Vegemite is it's pretty much the leftovers of from the vat that they make beer from. Hey, it can't be bad, can it?
I was introduced to it in Melbourne in 1987, and somebody just opened the jar and put it up to my nose, and my eyes are still watering from it.
Well, you're in Melbourne in 1987. You must have just been a young pup.
I was 17.
Holy cow.
It was the World Jamboree with the Scouts.
Oh.
It was up near Sydney. It was Christmas to New Year's. We were in Australia, New Zealand, and then we went to Sydney. I think the official opening of the World Jamboree was New Year's Eve midnight. They started it and went for 8 days.
Oh man, I feel so sorry for you because being 17. One more year and you'd be able to legally do everything over here in Australia at the age of 18. You just missed out on a great time.
I probably am better off.
So, Dave, what's your plan for your Moosaroo build? Can you reveal any details? Maybe try and get in TJ's head here?
I have no idea what I'm going to do. I really don't. I was thinking perhaps doing that cartoon style where you paint it in the way that it looks like a cartoon character. So that's one sort of plan of attack. We were talking about perhaps doing a World War II camouflage, but I think that's been done to death, where you get them being done as a Luftwaffe sort of colour with crosses on them. Yeah, man, I don't know. I'm just going to sort of just wait and see and just let the model speak to me and perhaps something will reveal itself. I don't know. I've got no idea. And in fact, point of fact, I'm quite intimidated by the amount of other sort of fantastic builders we got who are having a crack at it. So there's a lot resting on my shoulders because we've won the cup in the last 2 years. So for me to let it go away from home shores, I don't think I'd ever live that down. So, man.
So Dave, I have a question then. When you guys finished the Moosaroo Cup the last time, did you go to Heritage Con? What year were you there?
I was there the year before. That's a good question. What year was I there? The very first one.
Who was the guest speaker?
Yeah. It must be going back 2 years. It was definitely the year before COVID hit. So it was and then for the second Moosaroo Cup, we just sent photos across because it would have been too hard to sort of email it. And they judged it based on photos, which is even more terrifying because photos tend to show up a lot more of the faults of a model than just the old Mark I eyeball. So you don't think I'm more... Well, hang on. What are you guys going to be doing? How are you going to be building it?
I haven't really decided yet.
Yeah, here we go.
I've built a couple Gundams before just for fun. Like when I had my last job and I would work at night, I got some and just brought them just for something to do to keep myself busy so I wouldn't fall asleep. So I just would stick them together. I've never painted one. I've never done any of that. So, I don't know. Scott thinks I should weather it up a lot, but I was kind of thinking that's what I always do because I build a lot of armor and I weather everything. So I was thinking maybe doing a clean build, but then Mike Rinaldi has been doing his YouTube videos and he's done a couple of them about weathering plastic without painting. So I'm like, I could do that. That would be cool. Yeah, I really don't know. I'm also kind of I opened the box. I was a little intimidated because it's been a long time since I built a Gundam kit. I'm like, holy shit, there's a lot of parts in here.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm just letting it sit there, and hopefully, sort of some sort of design or thought will sort of come to mind. I was thinking about doing a diorama, but then not knowing anything about these particular models, I went and did some research and found that they're quite large. They're quite tall in real life. So I don't know what to do. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. There's a lot of good builders, and the field has grown quite a bit more than the two that started out.
That's for sure. That is definitely for sure. What have we started? What have we done?
I think you also need to participate in the 48-hour build next year, too.
I do, but I'm doing also, you see that? There's my T35.
Oh, nice.
34. I'm doing it as a, this is for the group build for those who can't see what I'm showing up to the camera. It's a T34/85 for the group build. It's going to be as a tank in a May Day parade 1946, maybe 1947. So it's all nice and shiny. It's got the white walls around the wheels, no weathering whatsoever, all in pristine condition.
That's a great idea. You don't see many of them modeled as a Mayday tank.
No, you don't. And, this is coming back to sort of, not my pet peeve, but a great discussion point is, how far to weather a model, and do you actually need to weather a model for the model to be what it needs to be? I don't know. There's a lot of builders out there who either don't have the time or the skills or even the inclination to want to weather it to the levels that we see at model shows and that. You know what? That's fine. That's great. At the end of the day, this hobby is about building only for yourself, and you're the only person you have to please. So, yeah, it's a bit of a long-winded way of saying that I'm avoiding doing weathering for this particular tank.
There's nothing wrong with that, though.
No.
As someone who weathers everything, like, if you don't want to, don't. There's, you know what I mean? It's like you said, it's your hobby. Do it the way you want, and don't let anyone tell you not to do it that way.
Absolutely. Each model that we build is a snapshot in time of that particular model that you're modeling. I know that sounds weird, but hear me out. So let's refer back to that big museum in Cairns, the Australian Armour Museum. And I can guarantee you all those tanks in there would have been polished and cleaned within an inch of their life. And you could quite reasonably say that when you're going to model a tank and you're doing it, you could say, well, I'm modelling it to museum quality, in which there's going to be not a speck of dust on it. There's not going to be any mud whatsoever. It's going to be repainted and polished. You look at some of the armour regiments in modern day armies, they will have a parade day where the tanks are paraded in front of the CO. And all those tanks are cleaned and polished and washed to an inch of their lives as well. It's just what militaries do. Militaries like polishing things. And even tanks, ships, aircraft, at some point in their operational life, they're going to look like they've come right off the showroom floor. And so with that in mind, there's nothing wrong with the modeler actually modeling a subject in which it's 100% clean.
Well, as we say, there is no wrong way to do this hobby.
No, there's not. Of course there's not. There is no wrong way, and there's no right way of doing it either. It is what it is. Sing like nobody's listening. Dance like nobody's watching. Just don't be in the same room with me when I do start singing, because I'll clear the room. I can guarantee it.
I know I think it's in this upcoming episode. Make sure you listen. I get a little bit of trash talking in, all in lighthearted fun. I thought it was pretty funny because we talk about the Mooseroo Cup. So by the time this airs, that will have already aired. So just be on the lookout for it, though.
TJ doing some trash talk. Wow, let's get down and listen to that.
Well, Dave, since you're on holiday now, we hope you get a lot of great building done. That T-34-85 starting to look great. Hopefully, you guys start to get a lot more vaccines down there and things loosen up for you. And we definitely hope to see you at Omaha next year.
Definitely. Thanks very much, guys, for having me on. Congratulations on your anniversary. your 1 year anniversary. It's something to really celebrate and shout from the rooftops. You guys got a great show. You got a great dynamic. You get some fantastic guests on. Not that I'm jealous, maybe just a little bit. You get some fantastic guests on, and just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great service to yourselves, the hobby, and podcasting in general. Well done, guys.
Thanks so much, Dave. We really appreciate it. You'll always be the godfather to us, and we'll continue to listen to your show, see how you guys continue to make an impact.
No worries. Thanks, guys. All the best.
Thanks, Dave. Cheers.
See you later.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, and we're back. That was a great interview, and it's always a pleasure to talk to Dave. He's a great guy and such a great support. Now it's time to talk with Stanley George. Enjoy this one. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to another Triple P interview. We're going back to the old days. We're starting over where we started back at the beginning with the Modeler's Minute, and we've got Stanley George back with us. Stanley, welcome back. How you doing?
All right. Hey, how y'all doing? I'm doing good, doing good. I am so glad to be back here. And I think I was telling y'all earlier that, yeah, I will not in the shed because it's hot. And my Wi-Fi won't reach that far out there with my laptop. So, hey, I'm doing real good. Thank you for re-inviting me.
Hey, it's good to have you back, Stanley.
All right. We've been paying close attention to what you're doing there on the Grumpy Old Scale Modelers Facebook group. You've done some cool stuff, some things that a lot of us wouldn't even think about attempting, like the 1/700th battleship. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on.
All right, we got the Dragon model 1/35th scale King Tiger Battle of the Bulge. It's the late model and has the Henschel turret. So far, I'm planning on doing up a diorama with it as well. I guess you could say it's going to have an Eastern European type theme. So I don't know yet. It's just I'm gonna go from where I'm gonna do whatever I can do. A couple of different things. The fenders on the side where the tracks are, I cut those up, took a lot of it off, and as far as the magic tracks that come with them, all 184 of them, all those links, I drilled the holes in them because with those magic tracks you can just put them together and glue them. I was like, I just wanted to be more flexible to make it easier to put it on the roll wheels. So I decided to drill the holes in the side and place copper wire in them.
Did you do every track link you said?
Yes.
Everyone?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, listeners. I'd asked twice. I wanted to make that explicitly clear. You are a special kind of person, and I applaud your efforts, good sir, because I'm a diehard armor modeler, but I wouldn't even do that.
That's pretty ingenious to take, the metal tracks I'll use pins like that, but to apply that to the plastic magic track, especially on the great big track links like on the King Tiger, that's pretty ingenious. You seem like a lot more experienced in armor than you're claiming you are.
A lot of my friends, they tell me, you're very experienced. I say, really? I'm not. I'm just trying different things. And if I screw it up, I screw it up. If I don't, I don't. And I go from there. So
tell us about that last project you had. That was a 1/700 scale Roma, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Trumpeter 1/700 scale RN Roma. What got me turned on to that kit was Plasmo. I saw one of his videos where he did it. I really like the red and white stripes. When I bought the kit, it was my second 1/700 scale ship. First was the old Revell USS Intrepid. It really wasn't that bad of a kit. It was very basic kit. But when I got the Roma, I didn't realize the parts were going to be so freaking small. I went all ahead and ordered brass barrels with it and photo edge, and yeah, I went on from there. But it was a very good kit. Really no fit issues at all. But I learned a lot doing it because I learned there's a big difference, between doing ships, armor, planes. Ships, you're really going to have to doing battleships. I learned this breaking battleships down into sub parts, builds and painting from there. So I learned a lot.
So besides being our very first Modelers Minute interviewee and kind of breaking new ground there, we also like to talk about people's social media, the content they generate, and you do some of that. Tell us a little bit about what you do on the Grumpy group over there, and also stuff that you do on your own.
Well, on the Grumpy, I just mainly just post videos. I give video updates of what I'm doing. They're just spur of the moment type things. I sit there, I turn my phone on, I have the camera facing me, I give an introduction of myself, a salute to everybody, tell what I'm working on, what I've done, if I screwed up on something or something went well, and then I upload another video showing my build at that moment of what I am doing. And then along with those two videos, I always upload as many pictures as I can of the process of the build. And my main focus is just if that could help somebody, another modeler doing a similar project, or not even a similar project, if it could help somebody, they can learn something new. That's all I guess you could say strive for, just to help out a fellow modeler. On my own Facebook page, I'm really starting to post more of my builds on my own Facebook page. Normally on my own page, I just post a bunch of dad jokes, funny memes, songs, videos. I also do some karaoke lots of times. So it's all around fun.
I was going to say that you are the only modeler that I'm aware of that serenades us sometimes as well. So we appreciate that.
Hey, I'm glad. I just wish that I could be a fly on the wall in some of y'all's rooms. If y'all happen to see a video that I posted on karaoke, and I'm pretty sure y'all be like, "Oh my God," as if you're drinking.
So, Stanley, have you considered starting your own Facebook page? I know you, like you said, you post in a couple groups, but I think there's an opportunity maybe to, create your own, page and brand and really expand that way. Have you thought about that?
Yes, I have. I need to do some research because I don't even know how to do it on Facebook. My own page or separate page. As a matter of fact, even like a YouTube channel, I uploaded a video and it was showing on Facebook, and it was showing me drilling the holes in the side of the the track links, and I had the music playing in the background, or the music overlaying it, and I did that on my phone. So I was like, okay, that's not too bad, and now I got to figure out how to do everything else. And it was uncomfortable making that video because I had my cell phone stand like right next to me, pointed so far down onto the model, so I had to sit at an awkward position, and I was like, I hope I get used to this.
Yeah, that's, I think that's one thing that we don't appreciate a lot of content creators when they post those videos is, especially like Plasma, as you mentioned, camera's right there in front of him. I mean, how is he doing it? So, but no, you bring up a good point.
Yeah, I think YouTube's a good choice. The world needs to hear that voice.
Yeah, I only mention it, Stanley, because you put out a lot of great content, and if people want to see it, like I have to search for your name either in Mediocre or Grumpy, but if there was like, say, your channel on YouTube or Facebook page, it would just make that a lot easier and be able a lot easier to follow you too. And I think our listeners would love that. I certainly would.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And actually, like I said, I've been looking into doing that. So I'm really, last week or so, I've really been sitting down. I got to get myself back on a certain schedule because things are going to get a lot tighter for me. I want to start back working. I'm going to be starting school back soon. I think next week or the week after. Might be next week. I'm going to start school back, and I'm still going to go out and work on models at nighttime. Nice. So it's going to get real tight, but that's good because these last 2.5 years I've been retired. I haven't been really doing much other than building models. So it's going to be more healthy for me, I guess you could say.
I wanted to also mention, if you're going to create your own page, you got to come up with a snappy name too. So, whether it was your call sign in the Army or nickname or just Stanley George Models, maybe that's good enough. But I'm just saying. Yeah. I feel like you, or Sergeant Slaughter or something from your drill instructor days. Like I feel like there is an opportunity here to name your channel. So
yeah, and to build on what John's saying, what I love about watching your videos, and I watch almost all of them, is you really kind of double down on a theme that we're pretty passionate about here, and that's there's no wrong way to do this hobby. You know, as long as you're having fun, it doesn't matter if you're a beginner or if you're an expert. You know, you need to do it in a way that you're enjoying it.
Go back earlier about the name. I've had a couple of friends, Facebook model friends, throw out a couple of names for me. I haven't chose one yet, so that's still churning in the old noodle here. But yeah, it's like I said, it's just I am very passionate about models. It helps so many people out, mentally, emotionally, physically. I look at a lot of one of my sons. He works at the VA hospital, not the VA hospital, but the veterans home, the veterans nursing home, and I see a lot of veterans like Vietnam vets, so forth and so on. And it seems like they're almost at the end of their rope. They're just in their home. They're not feeling good about themselves. And I can understand that. I can really understand that. So, but I look at a lot of modelers. They're keeping themselves, especially older people, keeping themselves active, doing different things. So it's really a good outlet as well. Really good outlet. And it just like was stated earlier, you're having fun. If you want to be strict, build a 100% accurate actual model of the actual vehicle, that's all good too. I'm all for that as well. But even if you want to paint a tank magenta or aqua green or something, hey, I'm all for that as well. As long as you're putting it together, building models, putting it together, you're having a good time. That's what I strive for. And I try to convey that when I do my videos. Try to give the energy, trying to give, happiness. And the way I act on the video, that's how I really am. That's just me. I get on my wife's nerves all the time because I'm walking around the house and I'm telling jokes and telling dad jokes. I had one of my sons kick me out of his room because I told a real bad dad joke.
I feel like we need to hear it. I love dad jokes, and I'm not even a dad.
So I asked him, I said, my son, his name is Jacory, and we just call him Corey. So I walked up to his room and I said, "Hey, Jacory," I said, "if a rooster was on top of a barn and it lays an egg, which side would the egg roll off of, the left side or the right side?" And he looked right at me. He said, "The right side." I said, "No side, son, because roosters don't lay eggs." And so he looked right up at me and said, "Get out."
I like it. So Stanley, Scott brought up a good question, good statement around the joy of the hobby, and you're really expanding on, the importance of it. If I could ask you, maybe what aspect of maybe building a model, painting a model, what part of it, if you had to pick one, brings you maybe the most joy, or the part of the build that you look forward to the most?
Painting.
Yeah.
Painting. I've really, really gotten more into looking forward to the painting. Before I even start, like I say, about 2 weeks prior to me even starting a model, and I may be even on a previous kit, already finishing up on a previous kit, but I'm thinking of that next kit, and I'm already online or magazines or books, looking for a paint scheme. So with this King Tiger I'm going to be doing, I'm going to try to freehand the camo pattern. Y'all wish me luck with that one.
Nice. What airbrush will you be using?
For the red brown and the dark green. Well, I don't have dark green.
Yeah, olive green's close enough.
Olive green, yeah. I do got olive green. Well, for those two colors, I'm going to be using my Iwata Eclipse.
Oh, nice. That's a good brush.
Yeah, but to lay down the primer and the base coat of dark yellow, I'm going to be using my Posh VL series with a number 3 needle in it.
Nice. So you've hit a subject matter that I love, actually, is 3-tone German camouflage scheme. So our co-hosts will have to deal with me for a few moments as we talk about this, because I love it. Talking about that, Stanley, what paints have you decided to use for this scheme?
For right now, Altamira.
Okay, good. Nice. That's I mean, if you're going to freehand camo, I feel like that's the best place to start.
Yeah, I have a long way to go if I decide to use something else like a water-based acrylic. I'm not even going to try that.
Nice.
At the moment, I'm not going to try it, but I will try it soon.
Nice. What do you typically thin your Tamiya paints with?
Mr. Levelington.
Yeah, buddy. That's the good stuff. Unicorn
That's the correct
tears.
answer.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I love it. So, Stanley, in addition to Tamiya paints for airbrushing, though, I saw online you posted a video and some comments about the AK third gens. It's a relatively new paint. Tell our listeners what your thought of them so far are, and what are you looking forward to most with them?
Well, just looking at them right now, I haven't tested them or anything like that as of yet. But I am looking forward to it because kind of turned me on to them. I was looking at one of, I think, Night Shift's videos, and I can't remember what build it was, what he exactly was doing, but he was using the AK Rust set, but I don't think what he was using is the third gen, so it might have been the second. But I said, you know what, I think I'm gonna give those a shot because as of right now, I have the Vallejo Rust sets, and I'm really starting to get used to using those and learning how to use those efficiently and, decently enough. So it just made me I just said, you know what, let me just branch out and check out this AK and see how they are. So they're mainly going to be, yes, I'm going to rust up the King Tiger. I'm not going to rust it up too bad, but I do have a ton of accessories that are going to go on the tank as well as on the diorama. We're really going to jump in on it by then. So
nice. So I'm going to hog the mic a little bit more, and then I promise I'll let the co-host talk. What kind are you going to use? Decals, dry transfers for it?
The decals that come with it.
Okay, nice. Yeah, Dragon decals are super nice. And then my last question is around the diorama. Tell us what story you want to tell with this diorama. You said Eastern Front, maybe the Nazis retreating, their last hurrah. What are your thoughts?
Eastern Front, I want to put it around, I guess you could say, the Ardennes, around that area. Not specifically the Battle of the Bulge, but during the Battle of the Bulge, but maybe a little before or after time frame. I would say somewhat more of before, because the story I'm just going to be telling, I want to tell, is the German soldiers that are all part of that King Tiger. They're just going to be sitting there resting, waiting on orders to come down. When you see the figures, all of them there that came with the kit, and they're very nice figures. All of them are in a relaxed position. They all got like a cigarette in their hand, and so I'm gonna have a couple of them just sitting on the tank, some ammo crates and so forth and so on, and fuel drums, and it's just gonna be a more of a rest and relaxation type. Soldiers waiting for their higher ups to send down, or that command tank or their commander in another King Tiger eventually is going to come up on them and give them orders and let them know what they need to do.
Yeah, at that time of the war, I imagine they're pretty tired, so it's probably a appropriate scene.
Yes.
So Stanley, you mentioned, late 44 time frame, probably going to be muddy out. You thinking pushing the limits with some snow? What are your ideas around the scene itself and maybe the groundwork?
As of right now, the groundwork, yes, it's going to be muddy. It's still going to have some tufts of grass here and there. As far as snow, I do want to put snow on there, but I'm not going to cover the whole ground with snow. It's going to be spots here and there of snow, and on the barn, I'm gonna have little parts, small little areas of snow as well. That also give me a chance to try this. What is this? It's the liquid water epoxy.
Yeah,
I got it at Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, so, Woodland Scenic stuff, I assume.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try that as well. I put little puddles here and there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna have snow, but like I said, it's just gonna be small here and there. And I kind of want to give the feeling of, if somebody looks at the diorama, the vignette, then they would say, "Hey, that must take place during spring or right before the heavy snowfall coming."
Yeah.
So either before, like early fall, or very, 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 very late winter, early spring. So
nice. You mentioned figures with the diorama as well. I looked up and saw something on my bench I wanted to share with you. I'll tell our listeners. So Tamiya has this new figure accent color. So it's very similar to their enamel washes for vehicles. If you're just getting into figures or looking to crank them out pretty easily, I've used this stuff in the past, and I don't know, I'd recommend it to you to give it a whirl since you're into new products.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I think I'm going to try that. As a matter of fact, I went and visited a battle buddy of mine. He's in the model group with me here. He lives like about an hour, almost 2 hours away from me. Back, I had to travel a bunch of country roads, and that was fun. I really enjoyed it because it was scenic. It was beautiful. I went to his house, and he had a small tub full of paints that he didn't want anymore because his hobby room was just like out of this world. I mean, every closet in this house had models.
That's my kind of house.
That sounds like a nice house.
So, but he before I left, he was like, "Okay, Stanley, here you go. Take this. Would you take that? Would you take that?" I was like, "Okay, I'm not going to say no." So, but he gave me, in particular, he gave me this pack of AK accents.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
So I never used accents. I don't even know how to use them, but I talked to a couple of guys on in one of our Facebook rooms, and they gave me the gist of how to use them and stuff. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna try them out.
Yeah, they're the enamel based glazes, I believe, and they're really straightforward to make shadows on uniforms and really create that look on figures that takes layers if you're using traditional acrylics or oils. So no, that's awesome. I'm a little jealous because I really want some too.
Hey, don't be. You may hear me cursing because this is how you're gonna know if it goes good or bad. You're just gonna be outside one evening and then you're gonna hear a bunch of GDs and everything else going on. You're gonna be like, that's Stanley. I guess it didn't work.
If I see the mushroom cloud on the horizon, I know that they didn't work out for you and you had to dispose of them appropriately.
There you go.
So, I do love King Tigers and German vehicles, but I want to ask you, you talk about, finishing the Battleship, going over to the King Tiger. We're all modelers. We have itchy trigger fingers. What are your thoughts on the next project for you?
What you mean? Like what I think I might be doing next?
What's next in your on your bench after this King Tiger? I know we're looking forward to pretty much a long ways, but what are your thoughts there? Go to aircraft, maybe?
Yeah, I got a 148th Great Wall Hobby F-15E.
Oh, nice. That's a beast of a kit.
Yeah, I had got the Big Ed set for it, and I also got the 75th D-Day anniversary decals from Furball. Yep. I think it was Furball. I haven't pulled the trigger on that one just yet because another friend of mine in our hobby club, his son flew one of the F-15s during that 75th D-Day anniversary. Had the invasion stripes on them and everything.
Oh, yeah. Out of Lincoln.
And so the guy had ordered, or not ordered, but he found a 75th Great Wall Hobby, or now 75th, 172nd scale Great Wall Hobby F-15, and he asked me to do it for him because he don't mess with anything smaller than 135. So I did it. His son loved it. And so his son, squadron commander, loved it also. And he commissioned his dad, and dad reached out to me and said, "Hey, I got these two F-15Es, 148 scale. My son's squadron commander wants us to do them for him." So I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So
dang, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep,
so, but I'm waiting on him. I'm waiting on him to get started before I get started. So
yeah. So I would recommend. I actually follow them on Facebook. The 48th Fighter Wing. They have their own Facebook group, and they post a ton of pictures from their deployments and flying around England, the mock loop. Highly recommend. Maybe I'll dump it in the chat after this. You got to like it and follow it if you're going to be building the Eagle. It's so much inspiration. You'll probably want to crank the kit open as soon as you start looking at the page.
I probably will, but the other kit I got with the Hobby Lobby, and I saw the I think it was 53 Coca-Cola Chevy truck, and it comes with the dolly, and it also comes with a die-cast Coca-Cola machine. So I was thinking about doing that. I haven't did an automobile in God knows how long. So I'm thinking about doing that. It's made by AMT, and I'm looking at rusting it up and just trying different things with it as well.
Nice.
So
I like the
those are my two.
No, that's great. So I actually love that you're going to take some weathering into the car world. It's, I feel like that's a taboo subject sometimes.
Yeah.
They always have to be polished and shiny.
Wait till they get a load of me.
That might bring more controversy than like a late war German tank scheme. I love it. So Stanley, you mentioned hanging out with some of your modeling buddies. I hope to see you then when we host the Nationals in San Marcos in 2023.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to be there. I am definitely going to be there.
Can we con you into coming to Vegas in a week and a half?
I
can get a roll away.
I mean, all I can say is this: if I happen to go out to my mailbox and holy moly, there's a plane ticket there. Oh my god!
Well, the Plastic Posse podcast, we're rolling in money. There's actually a money tree for podcasts that we know of. It's like a pot of gold that a little leprechaun guards. So we'll shave some off and send it over, and we'll see you at the airport with a Rolls Royce to pick you up and chauffeur you over to Rio.
No, but I mean, my wife and I, we were planning, but some things just didn't work out. As a matter of fact, I know she couldn't get off from work, and I'm possibly going to be working again. So I was like, you know what? I'm definitely going to go to the one next year and San Marcos. So
cool.
And we talked about kind of what your next project's going to be, but more from a technique standpoint, you're a guy that always likes to try new subjects and new techniques and new methods of doing things. What are a couple of things that you'd like to add to your arsenal maybe over the course of the next few months in your modeling?
Getting better at using, like say, Vallejo paints. Getting a lot better at using Vallejo paints. I mean, it's rusting with them. Use them as filters, and so the whole 9 yards. I really want to get a lot better when it comes to using Vallejos, and because they're water based. I think that's definitely, as a matter of fact, if I do that Chevy, I'm definitely going to be using all of it's going to be Vallejo paints, and that's one way I guess you could say I try to keep things new and learn different stuff, because when I started, I said, okay, I'm only going to use this type of paint, or I'm going to only do this type of thing, or so forth and so on. So,
Stanley, do you have any questions for us?
Oh yeah, sure. So, what are y'all working on right about now?
A bathroom. No, these guys know. I mean, I've just been I've started a new job recently and looking at a cross country move. So unfortunately, modeling's been pretty tight for me. But I do have, I'm going to show you, not our listeners, but a T34 that's nearing the completion line. I hope to get done for Vegas. But, in the matter of time talking to you, I'm sure TJ completed probably 3 builds. So let's just turn it over to him, because he's got more than the friggin', 6th Panzer Division, for crying out loud, on his bench. So
right now, I think the only thing I'm really actively working on, as in the only thing I've touched for the last couple of days, is you can see it. Listeners obviously can't. Yeah. It's little tiny 1/72 scale Renault FT 75 BS.
Wow.
From Flyhawk. It's pretty fun. I got like a million other things going on behind me that you can't even see.
That's the same size as the Tamiya 135th, the German motorcycle with the tracks on the back. Yeah, that's the same size.
Yeah, John finished one of those recently, and I just finished the assembly. I need to paint mine, but yeah, it's a great kit. Highly recommend it. It'll put a smile on your face.
Oh, definitely. I might have to get that one.
Doug has been bitten by the armor bug. He won't admit it publicly, but he has been. So I am
one of us.
I'm just relishing.
and John and TJ, and I'm going to throw Stanley in there because he's working on the King Tiger. I'm going to out Doug publicly. I've got a stack here from my buddy of 5 Tamiya tank kits that Doug just picked up yesterday. So he definitely has been bitten hard by the armor bug.
Oh my gosh. I have not, other than when we did the 48-hour build last March, I've not built a kit that fast. And I picked up the Tamiya 48 scale T55, and I had it built in 4 days, just 4 nights. I didn't even, no daytime, just after work, my wife goes to bed, I'd go down and work on it. 4 nights. Done. And I was so happy with it. I mean, yeah, I could have done things a lot better had I taken a lot more time, but just the fact that I could do, John calls them slammer builds, and that's exactly what I did. I just slammed it out and it was done, and I was very happy with it. It just pleased me. And honestly, I couldn't pass up these kits for the price that he was asking. So we're good.
Nice.
Well, welcome to the armor world, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you very much. But I'm not going to stop building the other stuff, especially Star Wars. That's still my baby.
Yeah, I need to get into the Warhammer. That's what I need to do.
There's some good kits. They're fun. Awesome stuff. Well, thank you so much, Stanley, for being with us again. Thanks for completing our first year as a podcast and being part of it. We really appreciate it, and we hope you're part of our second as well.
Oh, thank you very much. I really, 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 really appreciate it. You guys, you're awesome. I really, really, and I love listening. I was binging y'all's podcast one day. I was like, I couldn't sleep, and I just started binging.
Well, it's a lot of binging because some of them aren't short. So
yeah.
So I have to ask, were you able to sleep after you binged?
Did we put you to sleep?
No, unfortunately, you did not, which was a good thing. I was up the whole night. I didn't even go to sleep. I was laying in the bed, eyes wide open. My wife getting ready to go to work, and she said, "You haven't been to sleep?" I said, "Nope." "What are you listening to?" I said, "The Plastic Posse podcast." She was like, "Oh, model stuff." I was like, "Yes."
Yeah. You got thoughts of Dragon and Tamiya in your mind, and
exactly
single link tracks and camouflage schemes, racing around playing games with you.
I tell you, it's rough sometimes when you start thinking about that stuff. It's in your head. If you spend a lot of time at your bench, it's hard to get images of the paint going down or the pieces going together out of your head. You're always thinking about it, and that's not a bad thing.
What I'm always thinking about is, I wonder if TJ finished another one.
Yeah. Every night before I go to bed, I brush my teeth and I'm thinking, son of a bitch, yeah, I bet he did another one tonight.
I wish I could build as fast as you guys act like I can.
I tell you what, my goal at the beginning of the year was I was going to build a model a month. I was going to finish a model a month. And with those 2 pieces of armor, I'm now 2 kits away from being caught up to where I need to be. So I've got 6 done.
Oh, good.
I'm happy with that, which is actually my total for last year, I think was 6 or 7. So I'm doing well.
Nice.
I think we're just about done. Thanks again, Stanley. Have a great one. And thanks. And yeah, loved your family.
All right, gentlemen. Y'all have a good one as well. Stay safe. Keep on modeling. All righty.
All right.
Thanks, Stanley.
You're a scholar and a gentleman, man. Thanks a lot.
That was really a great time with Stanley. I was so thankful to get to know him and actually be able to talk to him this time. So Stanley, thank you from my, from my perspective, and really enjoyed the time connecting with you. And now it's time for the main event, our roundtable with the Uncle Night Shift, the Adam Wilder, and the Mike Rinaldi. This was an absolute treat to be a part of, and we know you guys will love it. Sit back, enjoy, and thank you.
Just one note before we start. We did not want to edit this roundtable. We wanted you to hear it as is. And as a result, there is some adult language. Welcome in, everybody, and thanks for joining us for the Plastic Posse Podcast's 1-year anniversary roundtable. Since we started the Posse a year ago, we've had several roundtable discussions, and they've become a big part of our podcast. We have a very special group here on our panel today, so please indulge us a bit as we do some introductions. First of all, the 3 guys who are joining us today have influenced each one of us here in the Posse as modelers in major ways. Second, these 3 guys have all been a part of the Posse. They've been very generous with us, contributing both directly and indirectly to the podcast. Lastly, all 3 of these gentlemen are just terrific humans. We've enjoyed getting to know them better through our mutual conversations and through their own unique contributions to the hobby. And I can tell everyone out there that what you hear from each of them is just really a very real, accurate reflection of who they really are. So without further ado, to celebrate the Plastic Posse podcast 1-year anniversary, we are super excited to welcome back 3 of our favorite people, Adam Wilder, Martin Kovac, and Mike Rinaldi to the show. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, my friends.
This isn't even necessary, but just in case anyone listening doesn't know Adam, Mike, and Martin, I'll give a quick introduction for each of them. Adam is a master armor modeler and model finishing techniques pioneer. He developed and perfected many of the modern armor weathering techniques that we know today. He is a former staff member of MIG Productions, AK and Wilder, and is a superb craftsman with PE. He is also an author, has a YouTube channel, Facebook page, and other social media accounts. He is also a teacher instructing students welding and metalwork. Mike Rinaldi, who needs little introduction, but like Adam, Mike is a master modeler known primarily for his armor projects, but he also works in other genres. He is also a master of modern weathering and finishing techniques such as oil paint rendering and hairspray chipping. Mike is also a designer, author, photographer, shipping clerk, purchasing manager, and owner of Rinaldi Studio Press, which publishes his series of tank arts as well as other modeling how-to guides. Mike is also active on social media, where he has a Facebook page, YouTube channel, and other social media accounts. He is passionate for many kinds of sports and is passionate about automotive design and motorsports history.
I'm taking notes.
Nice. Mike, I didn't know you knew all that stuff.
Right, me neither.
And he likes long walks on the beach.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh,
if you need a cover letter, Mike, we can send you this.
No
text.
shit. Bravo.
And lastly, we have Martin, aka Uncle Night Shift. He's also a master modeler and worldwide modeling community star, most recognizably for his influences and creations on YouTube. Martin's Night Shift YouTube channel currently has almost 175,000 subscribers and nearly 15 million views. That's incredible. He is an avid mountain biker and renowned hater of pineapple on pizza. Yeah, buddy, I'm your best friend. No fruit on pizza.
That's going to follow me until the end of the world, probably.
I'll die on that hill with you.
Me too. All right, so before I get to my first question, we need to address the elephant in the room.
Oh.
Martin, this is an actual intervention. We're all very concerned about your mountain biking is getting a bit too extreme. And as a mountain biker myself, I have to be careful as well. A little more careful than you have been.
I don't want to discourage you, but I think the only takeaway from my crash is that if there's a heat wave, just avoid it. It's going to drain you and you're going to make stupid mistakes. And those usually don't end really well.
So how are you feeling? Are you feeling okay? Getting around better?
Absolutely phenomenal. And I don't know if it's the presence of you gentlemen or the pain medication. No, I'm just kidding. I'm off pain medication for 3 weeks now.
Martin, what if we got you training wheels?
Come on, Adam.
Okay, so moving on. My first question that I want to ask each of you is to describe how you first got to know each other. So I'm going to start with Adam. How did you first come to know Mike and Martin?
Well, I've known Mike for a long time. Let me think. It's been 16 years since I moved to Europe, and I knew Mike before that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was cleaning the old stash the other day, and I found a 1/72nd kit of a mouse that he sent me from Mission Models when he was still working there. And,
yeah, in 05?
Let's just say it was that. You know, I'd seen his work. I hadn't really talked to him a lot, but I knew he was an up and coming. He was always very generous with me, sending me freebies from Mission when I made orders from there and stuff like that. And I got to know him more with the whole Missing Link thing. I think where I really got to know Mike was on the Make Productions forums. That's when you started really coming into yourself. You seemed to have direction, and your work just seemed to improve tenfold, and it was very impressive.
It's all why.
And got to hang out with him at a few shows in Europe. Easygoing guy, easy like Sunday morning. Good sense of humor too. And Martin, God, I've been watching him for years. I saw I think it was an SC-152 that he put. I forgot where I found it. I don't know if it was on links or if I was just looking around the web and I found that. So I Googled his name and started looking at some of his other work. I just know that when my company started, he gave me a lot of support and help in regards to providing us with his models and using products in his articles. And even when he started his YouTube page and mentioning us, it really helped me out. A lot of talks with Martin in the evenings, just talking models, ideas. And what impressed me most about Martin is And at the same time, kind of pisses me off a little bit is because every time he shows me something he wants to do, I'm like, God damn it, that's what I was going to do, you son of a gun. Do you remember that? What was that British one you showed me with the bent up fenders? What was that, Martin? That medium tank? You showed it to me. Was it a Boyle?
I think it was the IS-7, no?
No, it was a cruiser in Russian service. It was going over a
Valentine.
bridge.
Yeah.
It was a Valentine, and you showed that. I want to do this. I'm like, you son of a bitch. All right, good for you. Yeah, so do I. Great, you know. But,
the race is on.
Yeah, but I'm lucky to know both these guys, and they're probably two of the professionals I've spoken to the most over the years, and it's great to be here with them today.
All right, Mike, it's your turn. How did you come to know Adam and Martin?
Yeah, because I would say Adam and I. So my initial like learning who he was and everything is I've talked about before when I graduated Art Center and came out of school and was doing this stuff. This would be like 04, 05. That's when I discovered Missing Links and then started to watch the guys that were doing the tank stuff online and stuff. And then for me as well, Adam was writing for David Parker quite a bit with AFE Modeler from like the get-go. And so working at Mission Models, we would sell those magazines, of course, because we were one of the few in the U.S. that could get them and then, distribute them to the guys for the big online surge. But I remember like Adam's original like KV185, I want to say it was, or KV1S, I think it was your winter one, and like AFE
the IS-2.
Yeah, IS-2. Yeah, it was one of those early Russian heavies.
Yep.
And your whitewashes and all that kind of stuff, and that really just kind of like, oh man, I gotta get into this. It was that like the light bulbs start clicking, and all that stuff, and participating on Missing Links, and then getting to interact and chat with guys as you put your work up and those kinds of things. I can't remember the first show we met each other. It was probably a Euromilitary show. I'm guessing.
Yes.
You guys are better with the years. I keep forgetting shit all over.
No, I know.
Yeah, but Adam and I, we've been like, I guess you could say pro colleagues in terms of, contributors and stuff like that in the publishing side of things for a long time. So we do share a lot of stuff, and we talked on the phone. I was working the shop desk at Mission Models, and, we would chat on the phone. And I think that was the Pegasus Models mouse, the 1/72 scale Pegasus Models. If I'm
I remember that conversation. Yeah. I even remember I was a little shy because I didn't know you that well. And
yeah, no, we didn't know each other, but I remember like Adam goes, "Hey, Mike, do you like paint with gloss paints first? And like, what do you do after that? Because like, I don't know what I'm doing and I need your help." And I'm like, "Oh, no, Adam, you're doing it wrong." Yeah, no, we had good times. We had a lot of fun. And one thing I would say though is before I get to Martin, who I don't personally know, we don't know each other. Like we've never actually, this is our first time actually speaking to each other. But one thing I do like, and I think I said this on one of my things the other day, was that the three of us, while we play in the same swimming pool, if you will, like we have very different perspectives on everything, and that keeps things kind of fresh. I think, we're not, I don't know how you say, we're not like imitating each other, if you will. And that's kind of going to what Adam and was saying about like when you see the photo and then Martin's going to do it, like that whole trigger thing for each scale modeler out there. Like when you see the photos of stuff and it like, I want to do that. I think Adam actually wrote comment on Missing Links that when I did the Panzer IV with the Flak 88 gun on that, he goes, yeah asshole, I fucking want to do that first.
no.
Get moved, bro.
Yeah,
Get
someone
moved.
was trying to get me to do that, and I kept putting it off, but you did such a great job. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to do that.
That's what happens, Yeah, you won't see any like heavy beat up post 46 tortoises from me or anything because you guys have covered all that territory. So like, I don't know what to do anymore. So I did Gundams. I just like, screw the tanks. These guys have got it covered. I'm jumping shit.
Yeah,
our lovely Martin Red Kovac. That's what I remember you as back in the day when he would post. And the thing I remember specifically, and I don't want to make it like a thing, but I do remember how young you were comparatively to everybody else we were all hanging out with. Because by that time, I'd say there's Adam and Meg and, Phil and Mario and Marin and Lester and Spud and Spencer Pollard and, all those guys, all the big names of those days that are, a lot of them are still around. But, then here comes this kid, strolling on in, dropping shit. And I remember like when he threw down his Syrian T-72 on Missing Links one time, and all this, and you're like, who's this guy? And so that was kind of my first introduction. And then just kind of because I think what happens is like-minded people gravitate towards each other. We would exchange commentary between ourselves, and we obviously know our work and stuff. And to his credit, I was talking about when in the stream that you joined, Martin, really impressed me was we were talking about, somebody asked a question about, hey, can you chip paint with a knife or something like that? And I'm like, oh yeah, whatever, dude. Okay. So I start, showing them, and Martin goes, yeah, that was your E25. And that model's like literally like 2006 or something like that. And I think it was on Missing Links for half a second. Like, and he just remembers this stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. That was dropping some knowledge there. I was like, oh, yeah, because that was the one that I actually did that on. And so to his credit, that's how but I've followed him for a long time, and obviously watching the Night Shift channel grow, and, because that's how I do things. I think you guys have probably seen now where I pull back and kind of watch and see what goes on and see how best to handle things. And then obviously as the YouTube thing blew up, Martin really took charge of that one and said, okay, here it is. And this is how it does it. So it's cool to be here. Like Adam said, it's great to talk. And, in Adam and I's case, we haven't seen each other in quite a while now. Probably, I'm trying to think the last time we hung out might have been Atlanta, maybe. No,
we spoke on the phone about 3 years ago. I was bored at a mall while the woman was shopping. So I'll call Mike.
We used to talk quite a bit on the phone, actually.
I know. No, yeah. It's good to see you again.
Same here. So yeah, so that's kind of my, like I said, this is my first time really talking with Martin one-on-one, but yeah, I've obviously, big fan of his work and everything too. So very innovative and very it's solution-based. So one of the things I like to talk about in modeling is, being solution-based, working to the end game. And that's what I appreciate about the stuff that he does.
All right, Martin, same question.
Well, first off, I got to say it feels, I don't even know how to describe it, because suddenly we're speaking with Adam and Mike like peers basically, but from my perspective they were always my teachers. I was always looking up to them. So yeah, that's kind of interesting, and I really appreciate the opportunity. But to the topic. Well, Adam was the first one who I learned that he even exists. And by the way, in both cases it was through magazines. So with Adam, it was with his article about Panzer 38T, the Czechoslovakian one from the National Uprising or whatever. And before that, it was all just Miguel Jimenez. And suddenly Adam comes in and he does something I thought was just something out of this world. He managed to paint a national slogan on a rusty exhaust. To me, that was like witchcraft, because I used to work with pigments a lot, just stipple tons of pigments on the exhaust pipe, and then if you try to paint something on top of them, they would start melting into the acrylic paint, so it would look like crap. And suddenly this guy comes in and he just does it. Okay, so my interest was piqued, but then, I don't know, I think he had a few more articles published in a we can say Czechoslovak magazine, because it's also released in Czech Republic and Slovakia. And Mike, it was the same story. It was his ISU 122 that was published there. And he came in with a very different approach to painting and weathering. And it was pretty much, since I discovered Adam's work, I was sort of referencing his techniques and trying to emulate them as I was learning the basics, so to say, how to wipe pin washes, how to paint chips. Then I gave up completely on chips because I was really bad at them. And I think it was his Panther F that was the most influential for me, because it was also a really detailed article. Then when I discovered Mike's work, suddenly, no hard feelings, Adam, but I completely forgot about some Adam Wilder.
No, it's good. That's awesome.
And I just threw something across the room.
And I was just, okay, this guy, his techniques, I need to learn them. So suddenly there was no color modulation for me, no mud splashes or anything. It was all just pigments, oil paints, hairspray chipping. And I think the first time when I contacted Adam was when I think I've seen your email on Missing Links, and I sent you a model of this Stuck 3B with some field applied armor, a complete what-if vehicle, and asking, it was something like, Adam, you are the master of steel finishes. Can you give me some hints here and there? And Adam, he completely ignored the model, but he said that you need to work on your photography. And that really changed my life for the better. Fair okay, comment. Adam, I really appreciated that back then.
Adam cuts right through the bullshit.
And with Mike, I think it was our first interaction, I think, was back during the AK Interactive forums, when AK Interactive was a new thing. And Mike was posting there on the forum, and I was trying to emulate his hairspray chipping on this tiny little resin, some French World War I tank, the Schneider CA1 or something like that. And I completely just failed. The paint started crackling uncontrollably, and I just sent Mike a message with a photo like, hey, Mike, what went wrong here? And
what'd I say? What'd I tell you?
Yeah, I think you said that
you suck.
I think you said that my paint was too diluted, or I was applying it too wet.
Yeah, it's wet on wet. Yeah, when it cracks, it's wet on wet.
And then I just gave up on it completely because I just thought the whole hairspray chipping thing is a complete bullshit. It's like it's uncontrollable and everything.
You can thank Phil. Phil's the one that did it all.
Yeah, and I think then just Adam, he sent me an email on his own like, hey, Martin, do you want to be included in this book about... He didn't even tell me what it was supposed to be about. He just told me that I'm supposed to build an ISU 122S. And if I have a kid, he can send me frill tracks, the gun mantlet from a Dragon kit, and everything. And he just needs finished photos. No SBS photos, just finished photos. So that was really an honor.
How to get on that deal? That's a nice project. I want that. No SBS photos, just finish it, get it done, and send it the final. Okay.
Yeah, but
we
it
put
didn't
them on
go
the
anywhere.
Company webpage, right?
Yeah, probably.
I think it was, but the book was never published for whatever reason. And to Adam's credit, he paid me for the work, even without the book going anywhere. So that was awesome. Yeah, then I just met Adam in person on Mawson show. I can't remember the year, but back then we were already talking through Skype, I think, or just emails. I'm not sure. And yeah, by that time we knew each other. And during his demo, I remember I was the only one constantly asking questions. I was sitting in the front row directly in front of Adam and constantly asking about stuff. And yeah, unfortunately, I didn't have the pleasure to meet Mike because I couldn't attend Mawson show when he was there. I think it was family celebration or something when got in the way. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'll see you the next week.
Obviously, cheers. Other priorities. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
So yeah,
Martin was probably mountain biking. He's out there.
No. I wasn't mountain biking back then. Back then, I was a complete couch potato and just spilling out of my chair. Yep, that's the truth. So yeah,
there you go, TJ.
That's great.
That's how we all know each other.
All right, so my turn. We're going to take a little bit deeper dive into this, and as a follow-up to TJ's question, I wanted to ask, starting with you, Martin, so you get to go again. Okay. How has Mike's and Adam's work influenced your own work? And you've kind of hinted at it already, but if you could expand on it, that'd be great.
Yeah, completely. Like I said, at first, when I became familiar with Adam's work, I sort of used it as a learning experience. So I was learning the basics and even the more advanced techniques. And the way I did it, I even showed him. I completely copied some of his models. For example, the Hetzer in raw steel finish, I copied even the smallest stain on the model, everything. Sans the mistakes he made in the Czech national slogans.
He spell checked them.
Yeah, there were some spelling errors.
I copied those right out of a book, so don't blame all this on me.
No. I saw the reference photos. It was clearly legible there, but it's okay. You're a foreigner, so it's understandable.
All right,
you're not Slavic enough.
All right.
And yeah, then I discovered Mike's work, and it was a complete 180 for me. And I was suddenly all about subtlety and realism.
We were out to confuse Martin. We were working together, Adam and I. That was our goal.
That was kind of a conspiracy going on.
Yeah, I don't know what happened then. I think I got fed up with pigments and everything. So I sort of slowly walked away from that style. And, it was a good learning experience because I was able to try two very different styles and learn from masters, obviously. So the standard was set very high, Then I sort of started, I don't know, I think then I went back to Adam's style. It was when I finally learned how to paint chips with a paintbrush.
He still loves you, Adam.
I know. I didn't doubt it.
And I don't know, since then, I think the most, how should I put it, copy or homage to Adam's style is my mouse. And after that, I sort of started developing sort of my, I don't know if it's cool to call it my own style, but my own approach, sort of combining different things together. Especially since I started YouTube, people started pushing me to try new things, try stowage, try figures, make a diorama for God's sake, So you kind of learn new things, and it takes you places, I guess. Virtual.
Yeah, I would say your YouTube stuff. I was going to ask you about how, how that's because I know that progression, what you're talking about, where we're going through the friends and what they're doing and coming in. But now when you put your channel up and really like what's focused on it, as that's your thing, like you can see your parallel learning, like where it goes. And I imagine, because I'm doing this now on this side with the camera and everything, is your production values and what you're trying to achieve probably controls a little bit of kind of where you're going with who you are as like basically a professional, that whole thing. I'd imagine right. it's having its weight on your stuff.
It definitely does, because honestly, the whole video production and just running a YouTube channel, it's pretty much, I'd say, half of the whole workload. So actual modeling is just half of everything. So sometimes you also need to take shortcuts, unfortunately, or make compromises. I can't really name it.
I stopped painting the belly of tanks a long time ago.
No kidding.
Really sometimes you just need to say, like, okay, I just can't afford to spend, 10 more hours on this model. It needs to be done. So that's kind of unfortunate. And of course, it also affects the final outcome, and if we can call it style, because there are other YouTubers out there who also have style adjusted to their upload schedule. So if they want to release monthly full build videos, obviously they need to be extremely efficient and simplify certain things. So yeah, that definitely has a huge impact pretty much on everyone, who has a deadline and extra work to do, be it real life or making videos or books, in Mike's case, or even Adam's. So I don't know if that was a good answer.
I forgot the question. What was the question?
Yeah, right. What was the question?
Well, I'm gonna ask it to Adam next, and then you, Adam. How have Martin and Mike had an influence on you?
Well, let me start with Mike. I think the big thing that Mike did, there was how can I say this? He put up a photo of a winter JSC 152. It wasn't even the full vehicle. It was on links. You remember that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a top shot. And we've all been working on
I remember that day pretty good.
Yeah, we're working on the winter camo for this, and here you go, blah blah blah. So, and at the same time, I was working on my my books at the time, and I remember thinking like, okay, maybe I'm falling behind on my game a bit here. So, and I think I commented once or twice on that thing, just saying, I'm so happy for you, blah blah blah. This is great. And I had to drive back to the States that night. So I had to drive back from where I lived in Spain in the north down to...
That's a long drive.
Yeah, down to Barcelona to catch the airplane to go home. And I was thinking all the way down, I'm a has-been, I'm all washed up, that's it, blah, blah, blah. And the company I was working for, I was leaving Make Productions at the time. A lot of changes going on. So, but I ended up, I went out, I bought that kit. And I ended up, instead of the winter camouflage, I ended up painting just a regular, like 4-tone camo on it with red, yellow, black. But what I did steal from that on you was when I cut up all the fenders, and I didn't use any photo etch on it. I just cut up the fenders, bent them with pliers, and did a out of the box for the book, saying you can do something out of the box without all this photo etch and everything and still make it look good. So that's really what I got out of it, is how you dented up all the fenders without
still get a kick out of that.
Anything too expensive and pull it off. And that's what I tried to really do with that kit, despite how much I like the camouflage. And with Martin, I took some notes here, actually, as you guys were all talking. The one thing he did was the JS7, because I got all the goodies to that.
With my toys over here. Adam's like taking notes.
Yeah, I know.
All right, I'm taking it serious. Come on.
Well, I finished my last one the other day, so I got nothing new to be working on at the moment. So, but he did this JS7 he did, and I wanted to do the same thing. It's such an iconic Soviet tank. I'm still going to do it. It's just, how can I spin it in a way that it's not necessarily better, but stands aside from the great example that Martin did. And I still will. I just don't know when. thinking about, the YouTube channels and everything right now and, having, teaching full time, Martin said that modeling is half, the rest of your editing, voicing. And I know because the videos I did with my colleague in Moscow, it was the same thing. Except I was lucky. I had him to do all that for me. And it's what's made me hesitant to even do like what Mike's doing now. What do you call that? Streaming or something?
Mm-hmm.
Live streaming.
It's just, the live streams. What time I got, I just prefer be modeling. And that's what's, we talked about in the last podcast. That's what's made me apprehensive about doing something like what Mike does or what Martin does. So it's more or less just when I get the time, I try to just do the all-out modeling and the detailing. And another thing, it's like with the detailing, I've learned a lot of that from Martin too. I'll be stuck with something. Well, should I just bother with this or just put this kit part on? Well, Martin wouldn't do that. So here we go. Let's cut it up and get all frustrated and stressed out trying to put the damn thing on and, stuff like that. I love these guys. I'm glad to have them.
But it's interesting because Adam was always the guy who would pay a ton of attention, even to the smallest detail, like some stupid machine gun or something. He would put, I don't know, it looked like
so
hours.
Makes me laugh at that
it.
comment he just said. Like, wait a minute, hold on a second here. Wait, you're the dude that actually does all that causes the reason Martin's doing it. Now you're
sometimes I want to take shortcuts too. Like you said, you don't paint the bottom of your vehicles. That tortoise, if you look down through the driver's hatch, you can see right out through where the sponsons are supposed to be. So I'm taking shortcuts too,
Oh, okay. Now try joining IPMS or AMPS with that. You're going to be disqualified again.
I know, but
I'll put a Sherman on the table. To me, a Sherman on the table without the sponson fillers, just to piss them all off. Now, just
the other side not painted. Yeah,
no,
but Adam
is back of the road wheels.
Adam is like a feedback loop because the thing I did with the IS7. I was constantly thinking, what would Adam do? And, and I wasn't trying to rip off your IS3, so I only partially ripped one of the sponsons on the one side. And I didn't go with the bed spring armor or anything. And then you built the tortoise. So now I can't build mine because, you did it. And
I remember you said that to me. And I'm thinking, thank God.
So now we are equal, okay? And I'm just never going to build it again or ever because you already did everything that can be done to it.
Well, I'm sure you'd come up with something.
That's a lie.
Yeah, I'm going to build an invisible tortoise. Just a plain block of wood, and there's a tortoise there, but it's invisible. Invisible tank.
And speaking about all shortcuts, I was putting something on the table, and a good friend of mine over there, he says, "What? You don't even weather beneath your tanks? Oh, come on, Adam! I thought you were kind of above that." Blah blah. I'm like, well, try doing this professionally with deadlines, buddy. We'll see what you can get above and what you can't get above.
Yeah, no, it's very true.
So I hope I answered the question.
We'll just finish up. Mike, I know we haven't heard from you in a long time, so the question is to you.
30 seconds? I'm always interrupting.
How has Adam and Martin maybe influenced you? And again, it's not just techniques in the hobby, but maybe how you approach the hobby professionally.
Well, I think what's being talked about here is a key element to, pushing yourself forward. I think the crux that I take away from a lot of this is kind of that, and they touch on it very distinctly in that, when we watch our friends whom, as we develop these relationships in the internet and stuff like this, we watch what they do. And, obviously social media has blown that conversation where it used to be just like a forum post. But now it's what our friends do and how they do it. And in a probably a friendly, competitive way. And some of us, we don't like each other. So sometimes it's a heated competition, because I don't like most of you guys anyway. So I'm just out to kick your ass. I'm like, well, screw this, dude. Watch this. And I'm just not going to use photo etch. How about that? There's no photo etch. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing over here. No photo etch. But no, I think truthfully it's that kind of, Martin talks a little bit about, the imitation thing and I've talked about this as like a training tool where to develop your own personal thing is to kind of, and I've stepped back, like I've really followed Mario Weens in particular for a while when he was doing some things 10, 15 years ago. And I remember like his processes, and I've talked about this before, where like just to replicate what you see, that if someone over here, like you like what they're doing. And I could see that happening in this conversation here. And so many times I've picked up, particular, because I was getting AFE modeler on the regular, was a lot of Adam stuff. And then, with kind of the transition of the forums between Missing Links and AK and going through that and then talking to Martin. And that was kind of when Martin brought up that older commentary on the hairspray and what we were talking about, that was when I started to kind of pay close attention, you know, in terms of his work and stuff like that. And like I said, that Tyrion T70, the Syrian T72 he dropped on Missing Links, and it's like, you know, you see these kinds of things, and you know, now it's funny because now when I listen to him on his channel sometimes, and I hear his little comments, I go, yeah, I know what's going on. It's like, I don't like pigments, and this is why, because he's talking about it right now, and I just chuckle a little bit. And he goes, yeah, I'm back to hairspray. And he's like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. I go, yeah.
And Mike's just sitting there thinking like filthy peasant doesn't like pigments.
No, but that's what I think it is that kind of competition thing a little bit between friends and in a healthy way, what we all like to do. And I think there's also that, and I think that I see this everywhere, in particular with when we talk about, hey, I wanted to do that. And then somebody over here does it. And then you're like, damn it, dude, I was so hoping to do that one. And that's happened so many times. I think a lot of us, you know, I got lucky with that Panzer IV, I think, in that 88, and just happened to have it. Yeah, that's kind of one of those things where the competitive kind of, hey, what are you doing? And that's kind of how I look at this is, you know, I think you have to maintain, if you're going to be paid for this kind of stuff. And the truth of this conversation is, you know, if you're going to put your name on the wall and be paid for this, you know, you're only as good as your last piece, almost, that whole point of things, you know, like with movies and music and everything. And, you know, these are the guys I look at that push me to go, okay, like, cause I watched, Adam, like your Instagram post with the Wilder conversation you mentioned. And now, you know, your frequency on Instagram again, and what you're posting on Instagram, and like the cliche of, okay, Adam's back. And then like, I'm on YouTube. So like Michael's back, and, you know, I'm like being active socially again and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, what happens from that is kind of, okay, there is a little bit, and this is the healthy competition of like, I better bring my A game because Adam's rocking it. I'm like, well, Martin's doing stuff. You know, he's doing this T55 thing that's coming out pretty sweet. And I'm like, shit, I gotta do hairspray on camera. If I F this up, I'm gonna look like an idiot, and everyone's gonna go switch off and go watch their stuff. So that healthy competition is good because it keeps us old dudes like sharp. You know what I'm saying? So like, because like I don't want to fall behind, and you know he's got a broken leg, so I at least can outrun him right now. So it's like kind of, you know, I'm like, shit, I can if I hustle, like I can get a lot of models done. And Martin's like broken leg out, like he's done, dude. He's out. So,
dude, I finished the last T55 video today, so
okay,
and I'm starting a new one tomorrow.
See, this is what I'm talking about: production schedule. Yeah, how that determines stuff. But yeah,
what's next, Martin?
Oh, I can't say. Only patrons know.
NDAs.
I'm a Patreon.
Yeah, so am I. What is this crap?
Adam, so am I. Adam is never watching. People are asking about Wilder stuff. And I mean, Adam is on my Patreon, and it feels like I'm talking behind his back, but at the same time, he's there. He always has the chance to, you know, chime in and what's going on. So I need to tread carefully on Patreon when we're talking about Adam. Always just praise him, no critique.
Look, excuse my ignorance. It's like the Patreon, is that different? Because I watch all your stuff that you put up on, even though I am a Patreon supporter, I watch all the stuff you put up on YouTube when I'm modeling. It's like,
dude, Patreon is every day, bro. I'm posting every day there. Not videos, of course. It's, you know,
but they're ad-free there.
Photos from the workbench.
Well, it's exclusive content, is what I think is what it is. You pay for that
basically behind the scenes and
exclusivity.
Now I'm suddenly pitching my Patreon, so Scott, just cut that out.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
We mention it every episode anyway, so it doesn't matter.
TJ just eating barbecue leftovers. I love it, dude. He's just
it's leftover Chinese food.
Oh dude, that's
man.
the best. TJ just
I'm sorry. I know it's rude. I didn't bring enough for everybody.
No, you didn't. I'm pissed off now. What do you got for dessert, bro? What are we doing on dessert?
Trying to cut out dessert.
You got egg rolls? Any egg rolls to spare? No.
We had crab rangoon, but the kids ate them all.
Creature from the crab rangoons.
All right. Well, I want to kind of pick up on this a little bit. You guys have answered some of the questions that I had, but I'm going to start with you, Mike. What would you say for Adam is going to be maybe his one contribution to the hobby that's going to be lasting? As a designer, I think you've got a really good eye for evaluating work that you admire. So what do you think the one thing that Adam contributed long term he's going to be known for?
For Adam in particular, I find personally he's fearless in the sense of what he tackles, the manner in which he tackles it, and just whether it's confidence or working with your skill sets. I think it's when you look at Adam's body of work, everything you see, he takes on the challenges head on that he's trying to achieve and whatever it is. And then, he's kind of, I think personally from my like on the, not being intimate there with him, but just kind of from what I see from outside looking in, it's kind of a fearless embrace of what it is. And then moving forward to create these really, they're not over the top, but they're definitely not your daily, run of the mill project. So Adam is always, every single time I've seen a piece, and I'm thinking of just like the collaboration pieces with the T-34 and the Rubble, and even his Resurrection, I think it is the all this. Every time I think of these, when they pop in my head, they're always very, very involved, complete. And people might think it's extreme, but it's not, because he's doing things so fine and so well done that I think when you look back, it's that kind of embracing of the challenge and what he's done as his portfolio. When you look back 20, 30 years and we're really old and all that kind of stuff, if we're still around, that's what it is. And that to me is what hits home. It's just the involvement of his from A to B to C to D all the way through. That whole thing.
Thank you.
What about same question about Martin and his work?
Well, I like with Martin it is a bit of a similar conversation because you can tell from his conversation back to us today of what was going on through him, and you can kind of see that from the outside looking in of where he is studying, because he is, no offense, you're just a kid, dude. You're just like a little, this young guy.
I appreciate it.
Here's this little 19-year-old snot-nosed jockey coming in, like Top Gun and all this, but what you see is his own progression through that, because he's embracing the same ideals of, okay, I want to take this thing over here and I have to recreate it. And that impetus of, research to final project, none of this stuff is like, he's just doing like a little whatever, like a little Jeep in the road. It's always these really involved things. And then they solve all these problems. And that's what I see. But now, which is really cool because of YouTube and what's happened with the digital realm of everything, you see him turning into the professional. And this is really what this is becoming, is now Martin has moved from, the kind of being on I don't want to say not the non-pro level, but just kind of, doing the things that we used to do where we just build our work and post it online, to now he's doing this with his name on the door kind of a thing. And that means something. So you see his growth as a professional scale modeler really is what this is. So, and then his transition into managing his desires of finish with the production schedules and all these kinds of things to maintain a level of quality that is, he sets the bar for this, kind of a thing. Everybody else watching this, everybody knows Night Shift, when you go to YouTube, where you're going to get that whole thing. And he's in that conversation. And so that's kind of like what I see when you look. And I think 10 years from now, this is going to be, I'm going to be in my rocking chair going, I remember that old kid. He was like, he's building all sorts of shit on the internet, but he's going to be the king, and this is, and I mentioned, okay, the one thing I did mention in Martin's case, and Scott, on our last podcast interviews, I think because of his age and what he's doing digitally and where the world's going social media wise, is I think there is a little bit of responsibility for Martin to push this for the rest of us, because we're going to pass the baton to him, if you will, is I've got 5-10 years of this before I just fuck off, guys. I'm done. I'm going to go on an island and just, drink margaritas all day. So, he's going to be the king of the hill. So it's that kind of level of that's what I look at when I look at Martin is, he's the future of what we're doing right now in terms of and then the guys that he influences, because he is connecting the dot of the younger model builders in the armor world in particular. He's not a Gundam guy where there's a ton of teenagers and kids over there. So he's connecting the dots for those younger guys. And those are the guys that are going to come up and follow us, going to be nipping at Martin's heels. And he's going to have to deal with that whole thing that we've been dealing with him, where he's like kicking our butt. And we're like, son of a bitch, now I got to fucking do this model over here because this guy over here is doing this and this guy and that whole thing. Now he's going to get it. So there you go. That's your legacy.
Martin, I'm going to ask you the same question. What's Adam's legacy going to be, his contribution to the hobby?
I think Adam, at least for me, he will be always remembered as the guy who really had balls to do things, and do them really expressively. And also just, trying stuff nobody ever attempted before. Picking the wildest, pun intended, subjects for modeling, and just being super creative. Like when Adam was talking about his IS-3, like it's a well-known subject. How can I do it differently? And sort of, I don't really know how to put it to words. There's a sort of language barrier here, but Adam's work makes you think. It makes you stop and not just enjoy all the details and the quality of his work, but also think about his approach, not just how he did it, but how he came up with these ideas. sort of like when you're, I mean, like watching Adam's models is like watching a well-done diorama, basically. You know, you want to see it from different angles, and you see the reasoning behind every decision he did on the model, at least for the most part. And I think Mike is the guy who made realistic cool again. You know, because before Mike, it was Miguel Jimenez, and I mean, he was always pushing the thing about realism and so on. But let's be honest, you know, it was stylistic and more artistic. And I'm not saying that Mike isn't an artist, you know, but Mike managed to somehow keep things subtle and really not just plausible or believable, or like Adam likes to say, authentic, but really realistic, and at the same time really exciting to look at. So, I mean, Mike kind of managed to merge two things together which were never really merge-able, if that makes any kind of sense.
I'm taking notes, by the way.
So yeah, I don't know if that counts as legacy, but this is how I will always remember these two gentlemen.
That's terrific. Adam, same question to you. What do you think Martin and Mike's legacy is going to be?
That's not a bad question. I'll start with Mike, and I'll kind of echo what Martin said. It was the subtleness. The thing I found with Mike's work over the years, and even to recently, I'm talking in the past few weeks, if he dropped, I think it was a winter stug that he did, and I saw it, and it didn't really do much for me at the time. But as months gone by, and I look back at it, and even now, there's a subtleness to it and a realness to it that I guess unless it just for some reason, it never jumps at me the first time. But later when I look at his work, I'm like, yeah, you know, he deserves everything he's got. He deserves the name he's got, and he did it himself with his own style. And Mike's work is the only work that does that to me, that it kind of grows on me in time, which I think that's an interesting thing. And another thing I'll remember him for personally is it's nice when you got someone who comes into the hobby who's such an influence. And when you get to know them, you realize, in the same case with Martin, you know, they're just good guys. You know, that they're not full of themselves. They're not on the forums causing problems. They're just decent guys. And that really helps too. And for Martin, I think he'll be remembered for, I remember, and I was thinking about this recently. We had a conversation about, this is before I started teaching, it's probably about 4 years ago, about where to go from here, republishing all this stuff. You know, what do we do next? And I remember Martin was he seemed to be a little bit at a crossroads. And then he came along and he started this channel. I think, you know, the timing was there, found an opening. And I think he'll be, in my opinion, remembered as the first very good modeler that started this really successful YouTube page. And I'll always remember you for that, Martin. Not to mention some of the builds you've done as of late, the past few years. The what was that Soviet one you did with 4 tracks? The object, I can never remember the numbers of these objects.
279, yeah, I still need to paint that one.
Yeah, you know, that was fabulous. So the American T95 you did, but
another unpainted model.
Yeah, those are well detailed models. When you can paint them, when you can have a model and people are telling you not to paint it, you know, I think you've done something pretty good.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good barometer, right?
Yeah. You know, now that you brought up the T95, I actually remember we had a conversation with Mike. Mike was kind of interested in the T95. I think I don't know if you wanted it for one of your books as a guest article or for one of the single model series, but probably I remember we exchanged a few emails, but then it didn't really go anywhere because honestly,
I had no money for that. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of paying you guys, and I had no money to pay contributors. I'm like, shit.
But also my photography wasn't really there back then, and all sorts of stuff, you know.
Yeah. No, your photography has always been pretty sharp, I think. Mm-hmm.
By the way, I learned from most of the stuff from Mike. It was from one of his online articles, I think. I also bought the same camera that you had. I don't know if you still have it, Nikon DP200. Yeah, and I'm still using it to this day.
Yep, same here. It's my still camera for sure, and I've got the 40 mil Nikon lens on it now. So yeah, it's a great $500 under $500 setup for anybody looking to do good. The sensors haven't improved so much that quality of the image that we get out of that is perfect for our level of presentation work for digital and print. So
which Nikon is that, Mike?
The 3100.
31. Yeah,
You get the 50. It's all the same sensor.
Yeah, just the Bluetooth remote.
So
remote
that's what I
is
was with cameras, guys. Listening to this out there in the real world. When you study the cameras, a lot of them will have the range of models over the price range. The image sensor is the only thing that really, really, truly matters in terms of what you get on the outside of it. All the rest of it is just like little features and functions and doohickeys and whatever. So that's what I learned, was just get the cheapest body with the best image sensor, and then put the best lens for what we do. And I found the 40 mil Nikon, and that was $500 total. So I mean, you can get the higher Nikons, but the image sensor was the same for a long time. So I think they've updated it recently, but anyway.
Yeah, the same thing. I think TJ has the same camera. It's a great camera for photography.
For years.
And it can do video. It does shoot 1080p. It just can do it for about 10 minutes, and it just gets really hot. And it doesn't have an autofocus.
I mean, it's okay. I started my channel with the Nikon D5100, but the sensor for video isn't really good. The colors get all messed up, and it's a lot of work in post to correct them, and you can never get them.
And I hate how cameras do that. How you can do a print version of the same, and then the camera switches its video mode, and it sucks. You're like, dude, what just happened?
Yep, exactly.
It screws you up. You're like, God damn it.
When we were recording on Thursday and we were talking about our dream projects, and when it was my turn, I was like, oh, my dream project is a Churchill gun carrier, but there's already two that are way better than everything. So I'm like, I don't really want to do
mine's
that.
Pretty, no, dude. I just go with Martin's. Mine's really old.
Bullshit.
And mine's
yours is
really
awesome. I don't care how old
I don't
it is.
remember
It's
that one,
amazing.
Huh.
Yeah, I did a bunch of Churchills. That was the transition between the white background photography. So the original Churchill 3-inch gun carrier stuff was on the beige paper. I had the backdrop of the tan, the regular paper stuff on. I was going through this whole phase of colored paper. A colored paper phase, guys. And then I got the D50, the Nikon D50. This is when I was working with Pat. I think I started working with Pat Stanzel at MMIR and Ampersand. And then I really focused on trying to shoot white backgrounds. And then I was actually daily working at Mission Models still, maybe, with John, because I remember the camera. That was the big camera switch for me. That's when I really I'm doing this. I want the white background, and how do you do it? Blah, 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 yada, yada. And that was the Churchills, all those early Churchills.
I remember the whole series you did of that, Mike.
Yeah,
they were good.
Yeah, they're okay.
I think the best one was the Mark I from North Africa.
That's one of my favorite model projects, even though I think I'd like to read. I thought about this too, Martin. I'd love to, and maybe this is something we do collectively in the future or something. I'd like to redo an old model and start fresh and redo one of my older, like the E25 or the E10s or some of the older stuff, and see if we got any better.
Now that you mention it, this is one of my future video ideas, which I want to do. It's basically what artists do. They have the Draw It Again challenge, and I want to call it Build It Again challenge.
Yeah, do it.
And I want everyone spamming in the comments like the old one was better, But we're talking like really old model, okay? Not 5 years ago or so. We're talking 15 years ago. And luckily I still have some of my childhood models, which my dad saved in his office. And so, I have a real life reference, which I'm gonna now try to build again. And hopefully better, slightly better.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to watch.
So I guess I have a question, and I think we talked about this before we officially.
Because TJ just sitting there.
Hold on.
No,
Adam, you can't just watch. You need to join, and I'm gonna tell you which model. The Russian T-50, I think, the light tank, the fast tank, the one that you built in 2000 or so, and I saw it on Missing Links, and there's just this one crappy photo from a show table, and I was like, "This is Adam Wilder? No, that must be a typo or something. There's no way this is Adam Wilder."
That's Mike's work. Mike did that. You just put my name on it.
I'm trying to think what kit that was, because that's a really bad kit. That old T50 kit.
I can't remember.
It's not RPM. It's or Allen or something. It's like Zvezda maybe.
RPM. I think it was RPM. No, Makit.
Maybe ICM.
Oh, Marquette. Oh,
Makit?
God. Oh.
I remember
the molds might have been tossed around, like that whole thing, like an ex-girlfriend.
Well, is there a newer kit? Is there a newer kit of that thing on the market right now that I could steal?
No, mini art.
No, you need to build the same one.
No. Come on, Martin. Give me a little bit of some leeway or something.
Build the whole thing.
That mini art kit, just to build will take 6 months.
Oh man, actually, it's kind of a simple little
Is it one of their easier ones?
It's a simple little build. I mean, it's not this. It would actually, it's actually rather doable, huh? Well,
and you
Martin,
just need to add all the rivets from scratch. You know,
yeah.
You know, everyone can do that.
Did you re-rivet that model, Adam?
No, what do you think?
Probably.
No way. No, I just put on. I just.
I can't. I don't even remember that one.
Steve Zaloga article I read, and he redid the screen, so I stole that idea. And
that dude's actually like the Godfather. I think he gets enough credit.
Yeah, he's no way.
The stuff he's done is just like, get out of here.
I know. Without going off on a tangent, what I liked about him was everyone was doing all the German stuff, and he was doing good Allied stuff. It was fresh, and that's what and he had all
his research is impeccable,
and he knows stuff about it. Yeah, because he's a historian and an expert.
Yeah, I know.
And he knows he speaks Russian and translates it for the government too, so he's pretty tapped in.
And his stuff is always a little scene too. You know, he's always got a figure or it's a mini vignette, and seeing him in person, they are sweet.
And here's another thing about that guy. As the things started changing and the photography started changing, he kept to his thing. He just did his thing. And
Steve.
Yeah, and good for him.
Wasn't he the first modeler who started photoshopping the backgrounds into the title photos?
I don't know that, Martin. I honestly don't know.
Spanish guy, right?
Probably Martin, because he was working for Osprey way back in the day.
AMT, right. Antonio Martintello.
Yeah, he's great too. I bought his digital book.
AMT does all that Photoshop background stuff.
Okay, but
he's good at it.
Steve, too. He's the guy who also uses his model twice in the photo. Yeah, he makes a copy and he puts it in the background.
No, that's cool. Yeah, and it works. Yeah,
and some of his models, he does those books for Osprey. Some of the profile views of the color plates, you can tell that they're kind of adapted off of a chassis or one of the off of one of his photos, because you can tell the non-hollow guide teeth from a Panther Tamiya kit in there, in some of the color profiles. But no, he's legit, and his work
he's really like one of the most.
I don't think Steve gets enough credit
in the hobby.
Steve's huge influence.
He just finished that weird looking modern Russian vehicle on Facebook, I believe.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
72nd scale.
That's my problem today, is I can't see everybody's. There's so many different avenues. I do miss, like, there was one, it was all on Missing Links, and that's where you go. Like, I just like that.
That. I know. I remember that.
I can't keep pace with all you guys sometimes.
Same here, Mike.
But then the unfortunate thing happened, and even Missing Links was infested with trolls and people who get really nasty.
Back and forth.
Well, Brett also has a pretty, Brett's management style was very different to the earlier days too, the way Brett runs the show and everything.
I think it was when this one guy really verbally attacked Mirko Bayerl for some real, totally mellow critique about something, and that was the moment when I was like, okay, it's time to get out of here.
I mean, that happens daily on Facebook, sadly.
I mean, yeah.
If critiques are done properly, I enjoy them. I mean, because you're going to get a lot of compliments from the people around you in the community that you're used to hanging out with. But when you get an honest, well-done critique and you look at it like, yeah, that's right. Maybe I should have. And you learn. I'll never forget the person's name who do that,
Yeah, and I mean, you don't need to really, if someone critiques something on your model and tells you, you can still easily fix it. I mean, you don't have to, but it sort of sticks in your mind and you pay attention to that the next time.
Yeah, I put a Tiger One up. This is, 10 years ago. And it was a personal favorite for me. Someone came up.
Is that the three-tone one, Adam? The three colors?
It was a winter one. It was a Tiger One, and I forget it was a French modeler. I forget Xavier, I think his name was. Xavier Leonard, does that sound right? No. He said, Wilder, why don't you have some of the tools broken or missing or something? Because you get so much damage on the fenders and all the impacts. And I went and took his advice, and I think it really added to the overall character of the model when I actually, because I put it up assembled and unpainted, and he brought that up. So I went and did it. And the finished one, I had broken shovels on there from the impacts, tools missing. I think it really just helped, and he really helped me with that. It was a quick 2-sentence post that made a big difference for me.
I just remembered how Adam got absolutely roasted on a Russian modeling forum.
Oh, did I? Tell me about it.
You posted your IS-3.
This is the shit I want to hear.
I'm
Yeah,
still
I love this
mentioning the
stuff.
IS-3 today, and it was
How
on
do you
Russian.
know on a Russian? How you read Russian, or can you?
No.
actually?
Well, I can read the letters, but it takes me a while.
Yeah, I know
to
the
read
letters, but
one word.
Yeah.
But no, it was all in English, and I think it was the Karopka.ru webpage or something like that. And you posted the IS-3 all finished up and everything, and there were compliments, and then suddenly some guy comes in and tells you, if this tank was ever like this, the crew would be put in court-martial and sent to Gulag.
Well, what about those T-34 crews?
Right?
So
imitating a German tank with all the screen armor and everything,
shields and all that stuff. Yes,
and this is interesting because this is a kind of a running thing in our Slavic countries. Like armor can never get so damaged or rusty because the crew would be sent to Gulag or shot on spot for whatever reason.
How much fun is that, Martin?
Exactly.
No
Well, that's where I was
not fun getting shot
that's
or sent to Gulag.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what's new for each one of you. Things that you're working on that you want to talk about. Maybe Mike, start out with what you're up to and what you're going to be working on in the next little while.
I got to figure out what I'm doing for tomorrow's stream, guys. I got to post the promo and all sorts of shit. I got stuff to do, so I have no idea what I'm doing. It's a mix of, because the live streams have been happening, and I've got some train stuff here. I've got some Gundams. I was painting into the late hours last night, a Gundam model, and then did the 4-hour chipping stream. That was a bit of a thing.
Michael, can I ask you a question about all that, please?
Yes, sir.
What do you advertise that, like on sort of like a Facebook page, or do you advertise it on Instagram?
So I'm using StreamYard, and it's a software. It's a paid monthly service, and it's a relatively easy software that is designed for streaming. Mm-hmm. And basically, I've got the face camera, this one, and then I use my cell phone as my hand camera. And it allows you to put 2 windows on the monitor, and then you can talk to your people, and it feeds it into the internet. And then it's a live interaction chat software.
Yeah. And
then that feeds into YouTube.
So people come and go as the hours go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then you have to have all they need is a YouTube account, so they can come in and just like Facebook. It works all kind of the same. Yeah. It's just, it all pumps through YouTube as a live feed, as like a television show almost.
Well, aren't you constantly, and again, it's just curiosity, aren't you constantly adjusting the camera as you go along?
No, they're set now. Like, so I don't know if you can see me, but this little dude here is right here. And then I've got the mic, and then just like you guys do. And then I have I have this guy. I put my iPhone, and it's on its own little stand, and it's right over my hands.
And the quality of that iPhone is good enough, huh?
Yeah, it's a 12. So that's what I talk about on the with cameras, and what we're talking about here is I'm on a hyper budget because I'm putting all my money into printing books right now. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't go buy another camera for the purpose of like filming me right now. So I have to kind of like, well, how do I do this? Mm-hmm. And it's true, Adam. It was a lot of work to figure out the nuances of like webcamming. Like, a cam show is different than editing a video thing, because you can just film yourself and then post-production, edit, and all this. No, you have to figure out how to turn this camera here into that whole thing of being a live feed. So there's an app called Epoch Cam, and you can ask me later. I'll give you all the details. Sure. But it turns the phone, and the 12 shoots 1080p. It even shoots 4K if you wanted to. So it's a great phone. The video part is really nice. So it does a pretty good job, actually.
God,
I'm more impressed with it than I thought.
Yeah, if I did something like that, I wouldn't see how messy my desk is.
Yeah, no, it's. I posted it. It's after I did a 4-hour stream the other night, and I posted it just like blew it. Like, I'm a really neat, tidy guy, and it just blew the whole desk up. It was a mess. Yeah, so but yeah, no, I actually really like it. So I'm enjoying it. The live streams for me are, to your question, Scott, was obviously the books that I've talked about, for the last couple of years are all hopefully be printing this year. So it's getting that done, and then kind of taking a bit of Night Shift's popularity, and I'm going to try to squeeze him to grow my channel and, buy his subscribers so they come over and hang out on my channel instead. And that way I get big and popular and famous, and that's my goal.
Hey, I
right
already
now,
gave you like 900 subscribers.
You did. Actually, I saw that pop up. Like, somebody put up a link somewhere.
Give me a break.
And I didn't know who it was. Nobody said anything to me. And so I could see the subscription bump. Like, you can see your subs go up. And like, I knew somebody promoted something, and I didn't realize it was you until you probably came into stream that one time, and I wasn't.
No, I didn't talk about it. I was just.
And it's funny because when I would tell when certain items would start selling a lot before I left my company, I'm like, yeah, Martin just dropped another video, blah blah blah.
Probably.
No, that's how I could tell.
Well, that's what I mean, Scott. Like, this is the thing. So it's like, okay, it's 2021. What are we doing? I've always talked about this a little bit where I'm solution based. Okay, so what's my goals right now? Is just growth. It's growth of the company. So I have the financial resources to employ guys like Martin and Adam, because I'd like to do, and I've talked about this like with Lester and Mario, and like take the SM series and just give them their own book and just let them go and do a project, and I'll just handle the editing and all the print stuff, and then grow the company that way. So those guys are doing their thing, and then I'm doing my thing over here, and then there's RSP growth for 5 to 10 years, because legitimately this is a business, this is my career, it pays all the bills, and I have to be honest to that and just transparent. It's like, this is what I'm doing. So that's but I'm also, as a lot of you guys know now, as my interests obviously are outside of armor as well. So I'm also incorporating. I spent a lot of time so the reason, Adam, that I chose live streaming, I was stressing over kind of doing the edited content because I had never really videoed myself and by myself. How do I do this? How do you film yourself doing all sorts of shit? I'm obviously used to print photography, and I'm like, okay. But then I get hung up in the brand image and the style, and I want it to be the RSP way with the white backgrounds and da-da-da. Well, video in white background just doesn't kind of work unless you have tons of really good equipment, and it's bullshit. So I'm like, shit, this isn't working. And Scott and I, with the podcast, we've talked about this, and it was just kind of, the live stream to me, the Gundam guys, the kids over there, they do live streaming all day long. This is what they do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Basically this podcast where we can all see each other, that whole thing. But even though it's going to be a verbal, an audio podcast, is the Gundam world. This is how they do things almost all the time. I was on one last night for a bunch of like 10 guys on stream. Wow. We're just bullshitting and having a good time and building models
fun.
And stuff.
Yeah,
it is. You can tell. I mean, I think Martin came in and we had a great time. I mean, it was a shame we couldn't, mess around a little bit more, but I had to get serious for me.
Yeah, I mean, when I joined Mike's live stream, it was just, everyone was asking legit questions. I was just bullshitting around in the chat because I was super happy.
Martin
that
was high on drugs, painkillers.
I was just trolling and stuff because that was the day when they gave me a full cast and a huge burden fell off my, what's the word? Arms? No, shoulders. Chest, maybe. Yeah, all of those things. Because, there was a chance I would get the compartment syndrome when my skin would start falling apart. And but luckily everything turned out to be good, and I had the full cast and everything was just perfect. And then suddenly I was about to go to bed, and I suddenly saw that Mike is live streaming. Okay, I need to go there and just say hi and what's up. And
that was great.
And then it was a good time, and I was just, joking with people, and I felt kind of bad if I wasn't hijacking the chat too much, but I think it was okay.
Yeah, it was perfectly fine. And that's what I'm trying to get. Like we talked about this for a second, was trying to get the armor modeling world of the core older guys aren't familiar with any of this kind of like tech stuff. So it is a little bit of the learning curve for them to, okay, this is what's happening. So it's fun in the sense of just trying to, do it differently a little bit more, authentic, if you will, the more raw side of life, airbrushing on camera live. I'm waiting for it when it all goes wrong. I'm just waiting for the moment when that, boom. Whoosh.
Yeah, but Mike, don't you think that happens to everybody? I've done that at demos. I've screwed everything up. I've made all the mistakes.
You dealt with the Russian hackers on your first video pretty well.
Yeah. I wasn't even looking at the stream. My head was down painting, and for the longest time, the kid was just talking to shit.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm just thinking, Triple P boys, can I also ask a question to these two guest gentlemen? Yeah, I was going to ask this, Mike, in your live stream, but it will be kind of a long question, but turns out it's not so long after all. So you, Mike, and Adam, there's obviously a lot of beginners watching Mike's live stream, or, for example, watching my videos, and people are asking all the time, like, which techniques would you recommend to a complete beginner? Because I've been always thinking, like, if you're a complete beginner, I mean, sure, do your own thing, but personally, I think there's no point in trying to emulate every single technique like chipping, mod effects, rust zones, stowage. I always thought that for a beginner, it would be more satisfying to just lay down a really nice, smooth base coat, single color, and just apply a pin wash. And that's much more satisfying, at least to me, than a completely, botched model where you try to do everything. So what is your take on this?
Well, in the book, I said the same thing. There are a lot of people who just build models, paint them, throw the camo on, do the pin washes, and if it's all done well, the beautiful looking models. I think that you might want to just start with those basics and build on it at your own pace. And as you go model through model, add something, do a little weathering, maybe do a little chipping, and just go at a pace that works for you.
Yeah, I get a lot of emails with that too. They're like, yeah, what I get, Martin, what I get a lot of is, I just returned to the hobby after 40 years.
Oh, yeah.
He's dropping like $1,000 on kits and stuff and all sorts of crap. And I'm like, dude, no. Go spend like $20 on a Tamiya 48 scale kit. Literally just build it, snap it up, glue it together, whatever, and just paint it. Just get comfortable with and it's the same thing that Martin's talking about is like, I try to constantly advise these guys it is very much the older men syndrome of I want to be like amazingly good immediately. I'm like, no, that's not how it works.
Because you have all the disposable money and you just want to buy everything so you're ready for the hobby. But I mean, that's cool, but it doesn't guarantee success immediately.
It's a lot of
I had a customer in Florida. Yeah, sorry, Adam, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. It's just a lot of it's just practice.
Yeah. I treat it like sports. I always talk about that analogy. It's just as very much like athletics, where if you're just kicking a soccer ball, it's the same thing. If you want to get good at a pin wash, dude, you have to do it 1,000 times. Like just do it. Keep going.
Repetition, mm-hmm. Like math.
Exactly. I always draw parallels to mountain biking. Like you can't go and send a 20 feet gap jump or something if you don't know how to ride off a curb. But then again, in modeling, you're not risking breaking your bones or anything, luckily.
Being flown out in helicopter.
At least so far.
Fall off the chair,
Flown out in potato sack.
Maybe get drunk and just pass out. You hit your head.
Ask Martin how he knows.
Oh, how would I know? I'm the guy who never crashes, and when I do, it's serious.
You do it with style.
Totally, and grace.
Free helicopter ride out of the woods.
I think you guys all just hit on something very important that a lot of modelers, I think, don't really understand is the level of detail and the time committed to perfecting your craft. Like you said, it's not like you just woke up and it kind of happened. It's, countless repetition.
I did.
You just piss excellence.
Yeah. Speak for yourself.
Well, shit. I mean, TJ's building.
That's a bumper sticker.
If practicing makes you perfect, TJ's going to reach perfection here in about 3 weeks when he finishes 20th model.
We crank shit out so fast. I'm like, dude, you just literally pull the kid out yesterday. Like, what's the fuck, dude?
Yeah, it's an illusion.
And he has a family too. That's the crazy part.
No, I know.
That's the key. You just ignore them.
That's why you got the wall up there.
Yeah, exactly.
In the spirit of Martin's question, Adam and Mike, do you guys want to ask the other two a question as well?
Why don't you go next, Mike?
I was going to ask you, Adam, what were you, because this is obviously where you're in a transition phase, and I always find transition phases for us, or as humans, or especially as we get adults and career wise, like you said, you're teaching again full time, and where you're going to go. Like, what do you see yourself doing with the modeling on some sort of professional? Like, you just kind of going back to contributor base, or do you think you're going to enter into some new idea where you maybe re-enter, the whole world of professional, put your name on the door kind of conversation again? Like, do you have any plans or not? And if you can't talk about it, it's cool too, but just, that's my question. Like,
I'll give you an honest answer. I can't answer it. I really can't answer it right now. The added time I have, I've just been modeling a lot more and having fun with that. I've thought about the YouTube stuff, but again, it would take what limited time I already have, to go along with the filming, the editing. It's just, Mike, I honestly don't know. And I'm not, I'm being honest, I'm not too worried about it. I'm sorry I don't have a more exciting answer for you.
I think that's a good answer, honestly.
Thank you.
That means you're happy. That means you're at least calm about it. Like, it's not, like you're in a good spot. So
yeah,
that's the way I understood it.
Yeah.
So before we started recording, we kind of talked back and forth about cheating in a sense of, not painting the underneath your model or, not covering up the sponses. Can we just acknowledge something, if we could go through each of you and just talk about something that might surprise your listeners, the people that read your stuff and watch it, maybe something that you do that they would be aghast by. Maybe we'll start with you, Martin.
That's kind of hard to answer because honestly, I go all out every time in every video. I pretty much show everything, and I actually started weathering the undersides of models simply because I used that electric turntable or whatever it's called at the end of the video, and it's a mirror surface, so it shows the underside, and so yeah, and I mean
Pro tip, don't use the mirror turntable.
But honestly, it just takes a while, you can be totally heavy-handed on the underside and it's fine. And it takes 5 minutes while you're working on the rest of the lower hull, so it's not such a big deal. And I don't know, I honestly have nothing. I do everything perfectly.
That's why you have 15 million views.
Is it really that much? Last time I checked, it was 12 or 11.
It starts to exponentially grow. I think that's what you see now is your numbers get so big that the exponential growth factor is huge. It's like wealth. It's a little bit like money where once you have
it doesn't
that
really.
high level.
It actually doesn't. It usually stays. It grows very slowly. Like if we're talking daily or hourly views on the whole channel, it grows really slowly. But that also might be my fault because I'm not really trying to cheat the algorithm or whatever.
I've been watching a lot of algorithm videos now because Instagram's changing and YouTube's changing and TikTok competition and trying to learn about all that stuff.
Honestly, just one pro tip that I don't follow. If you want to have a YouTube channel and just clock in average 1 million views a video, just start making huge dioramas, in 1/72 scale. Make them half by half meter, include, 4 vehicles, 20 figures, which you just stipple with a sponge, and you're going to be good.
I've seen that, Martin.
Honestly,
I've seen stuff up there that's just no more than average.
But it's huge, and that's what's attractive.
And you see that transferred over to Facebook, Martin. I haven't seen your videos yet, but I've seen some pilfered from YouTube, like Laser Creation World, Plasmo, and DIY Crafts grabs it, snips it up, makes it 3 to 4 minutes long, puts it on Facebook, and I feel like they're getting 4 to 5 million views on these, these pirated. They're essentially pirated videos.
They're stealing the content, and it's because Facebook is counting after the first 2 seconds, it's counting as a full view. And that's usually enough when you're scrolling on your phone and you're not even watching it, but you give them a view. So that's why most Facebook videos have 1 million plus views.
Social media is all basically lies. That's literally what it is. It's just literally just companies lying. It's okay.
I have a question. It maybe goes towards the positive side of social media. And it's, if you look back 5-10 years ago, looking today and seeing the amount of views you're getting, the amount of interactions, and that constant narrative, the hobby is dying.
Who says
exactly
that, by the way? I don't see that at all. This hobby's blowing up, by the way.
No,
Boomers.
They've been saying that for 15, 16 years now. And if anything, it's bigger than it's ever been.
Exactly.
Can you fathom, Martin, you just said it yourself, is it up to 15 million views? Could you have ever seen that looking back even a year or two?
I don't know. Honestly, when I was starting the channel, my goal was to reach 1,000 subscribers in a year, I think, or 2 years. I didn't know anything about YouTube. How much money does a video make you? How much do you get paid for 1,000 monetized views? If it's important to have subscribers or views or watch time, or I didn't have any expectations, honestly. When suddenly it slightly started taking off and it started making some money, I was happy with that. I would be happy with doing that with the revenue I was getting year one. It was sort of just side money, sort of spare, not spare change, but pocket money. Even that was fine, And it's so unpredictable. You can either go the professional, so to say, YouTuber route and start just chasing views. And for example, if you reach some audience, just give up on your schedule and upload a video a month, which is 40 minutes long, and it will guarantee you at least 500,000 views, if not even more. Or you can just, be grateful to your audience and deliver what you promised from the very beginning, So, I don't know. I mean, that amount of views is really nice, but, there are modeling and hobby channels who get that in a month. Those fake toy car restoration channels. Gosh. Jesus Christ.
I never...
Dude, no, but they're making... Basically, they're doing reverse weathering. So they fake weather toy car off camera, and they quote unquote restore it. And it's super fake. It's super annoying. It pisses me off. I'm not jealous about the views. Well, maybe a little, but the fakeness of that, and people commenting like, "This is so satisfying."
It's all bullshit.
No, okay. What's so satisfying about being lied to? And it's sometimes it's so obvious. Like there was this brand new car model which was released like a month ago, and he was restoring it like it has been buried underground for 15 years.
Martin, these car models, are they like actual like 48 scale like plastic glue models like we do, or
no? There are those metal models which you can buy in a gas station.
Oh, they're die cast. Can you send me a link to one of those? Because I've
no,
never
you don't
seen
want
them.
to see that.
All right, well, no, I want to hear what you're all upset about.
You piqued his curiosity.
So this kind of goes on the lines of piracy and, as I mentioned, taking videos, putting them on Facebook, but it can also apply to print as well. And Mike, that maybe you've experienced that. Maybe that's why you keep yours still hard copy, because as soon as
it's the reason I don't do PDFs. Yeah, it's the main reason. The Chinese and Russians in particular, there's websites that are already, all the stuff's up there for years now. You can go, as particularly in China, and my Chinese dealer will send me every now and then just a heads up, like, hey, here's Tank Art 2 for $2 on a PDF, and then I'm selling the hard copy here for the the real price that our agreement is, and it's just the law in that land, and that's what they can get away with, and I can't do anything about it. So, that's one of the big hesitations was, I think it's DRM security for PDFs in particular, which is the higher level of protection for a PDF. Like, how do you sell it? And then, how do you, my gut's telling me the moment I do that, all the books are done, so I've just been hesitant. I think for that world and to the YouTube conversation and to social media, I'm okay giving away free stuff. Totally fine with that. And I think that the idea here for me in particular, as being a product manufacturer, if you will, just provide all the free stuff, or the low cost stuff is just kind of its own thing. Don't try to take what I do for the big stuff and break it up and sell it. Like, just make something for that. Like the stream content is stream content. And then the PDF stuff will be PDFs. I just haven't actually got to it yet, but that's kind of how I'm approaching piracy from my RSP side. From that, it's a very real thing. And I learned this, Adam, and Harry quite well. And you probably know the conversation, and we're part of it. I was in the Clifton at Euro having breakfast, and Harry always stayed in the same hotel. Harry Sheen, his wife, and then we would have breakfast in the main thing, and we were talking about Harry, he'd lean over, and how Harry is, he'd lean over and kind of nudge and give you an idea.
Why, yes, I do.
And Adam, you know him really well, and so he nudged me and he said, you should really be doing DVDs and stuff. Or no, I actually nudged him. I think it was opposite. I said, hey, how are your DVDs going? This is back in the day when you guys were doing your first initial ones. And he said, he told me specifically, and I remember this at the breakfast tables inside the Clifton there, and he goes, the first video, it took him 6 months to pirate the DVD. In the second DVD, it took him 6 weeks, and then the third DVD, they had it pirated within that week. And he said, that's what he told me. And I said, yeah, I'm not doing DVDs. So that's what I learned about all that. It's that's how those countries are.
Well,
socially.
We did the photo etch DVD.
Mm-hmm.
The guy I worked with, he told me that he heard from another modeler that he went into the hobby shop, and that guy who owned the hobby shop had somehow made copies of that disc and was selling for the equivalent of $2 a piece. And that we were dealing with the same thing. I agree with you. It can be really discouraging, and it can be very infuriating at times, because, even like a hobby shop like that, you think that they're making money off new products that people come up with for them to sell, but then to turn around and undercut us like that, where it's hurting our income, how can we stay around to give them new products? And that we just couldn't. It just blew both our mind why, that they would be doing that.
Humans are the worst. Humans are the worst.
If there's a profit to be made.
Yeah, humans are the worst.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, each one of you guys are great teachers, great communicators. It's one of the things that I think makes you and your work stand apart. Maybe start with you, Adam. Do you guys, where does that motivation come from? I know you teach as well outside of the hobby, but do you feel a responsibility to help mentor young people, or is it just something that you enjoy sharing your hobby? Where's that inspiration or that motivation to teach come from?
Definitely the latter. I think that this hobby is something enough that it's something that I've been lucky enough where I'm pretty good at it. And like we said during the first podcast I did with you, that if people are interested, and if they're taking the time to ask me questions, for the most part, I feel I owe them an answer, and I appreciate that I have something that I'm that good at. I think just what's motivated me over the years is trying to find a subject that's new to me. How can I finish this in a way where it looks different for me and that's exciting for me to do? Like, that's why I don't do a lot of tiger tanks. And the one that I did, I felt it was original enough to do. I think when I first got into this, when I first started doing this professionally, I was at MIG Productions. That's what I would do the first part of every night. When I got home from work, I was just answering personal emails or questions. And the biggest thing is, if someone would send me an email that's 2-3 paragraphs long, I was immediately discouraged because I just don't have time to get into these long conversations because I have my own my personal time is limited. If people would ask me questions and keep it 1-2 sentences, 3 to the point, that's much easier for me to answer. I got a lot of people now asking me questions. Where can I get your books? Where can I get your books? I mean, they're out of print, and I don't know. I think what I'm just going to have to do is write something on a Word document, save it on my computer, and just cut and paste every time. It's like, well, contact these people, see if they might print them again. I've had people what color did you use to paint that Panther F you did with the color modulation? Well, I used a whole bunch of colors on it, and that's a hard question for me to answer. And I'll just write, well, I use these 5 Tamiya colors or these 5 AK colors. And, you're just going to have to mix them where it feels comfortable for you. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I think so. Martin, same question to you. Where do you think that drive to teach and share what you do with other people comes from?
No, honestly, when I started the channel, I was in this sort of mindset that I'm trying to teach people something, because that's what we tend to do in magazines. Like you're explaining what you're doing and teaching the reader, right? But then I don't know when it happened, but suddenly it wasn't just to make myself look better. It actually was my own a change of view on the thing. I sort of stopped telling people what to do or how it's supposed to be done, but rather just sharing what I'm doing, and if it went well, if it didn't go so well, and just taking them along on the ride, so to say. So for me, it's no longer about really teaching. It's just showing the journey, Oh, look, guys, I tried this and it looks pretty good. I think I'm going to be doing it in the future.
I feel like somebody's got to cue some guitar music while Martin's talking about this. Some feel-good music.
So,
come along on my journey with me. It's just a journey.
So,
sorry.
Yeah, I think that answers the question. I'm not really trying to teach anyone anything, because there's one thing. Again, I'm gonna bridge the topic to mountain biking, but when you have professional athletes, it doesn't have to be just mountain biking, any type of sport. You as a hobby biker or sportsman, weekend warrior, you see these people as some kinds of gods, right? Because it's their full-time job. They're getting injured and they're pushing the limits each year. But with modelers, you never see anyone like that. We're always equals. Just someone is slightly better, someone is more better, but Adam used to be a god for me, but no hard feelings, Adam, not anymore.
No, I'm sorry.
We're just buddies.
I've had worse insults.
You know what I'm trying to say. When we meet at a model show, we're just guys who enjoy what we're doing, you know. And suddenly, if you start, I don't know, talking about yourself like I'm a professional modeler, artist, creator, it'll make people, you know, slightly cringe inside. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we're just regular guys who are enjoying what we're doing, and someone dedicates more time to it, so they get slightly better than others. Someone gets even more better, you know. But at the end of the day, we're the same type of people. So yeah, I'm just rambling. So
it's good rambling, Martin. It's good rambling.
The drugs are kicking in. The painkillers are kicking in.
It's good rambling.
I think it's the ultimate bone support which I have here. Obviously, listeners can't see it, but it's ultimate. By the way, cool story. This was sent to me by one of my Patreons, by the VMS guy, Chris Obarski, with a nice feel good buddy sign. Oh no, get well soon, buddy.
I guess humans aren't so bad after all.
Exactly. Faith in humanity restored, at least for a few minutes.
What was the question, Scott? Sorry, what are we talking about? I'm here.
What's your motivation for sharing what
money.
you do?
Damn it, pay me. I want money. I'm here to get rich. F off, all of you. I want to get rich. Famous. I want all the girls and cars. No, just kidding. You wouldn't be a scale modeler. Yeah, I think lately, for me, to like the journey from, you know, starting this 9 years ago and the books and everything. And I've said this, I think, recently in our conversations, is just embracing the idea of what I come from, just being kind of, you know, I'm a big fan of like American football and stuff, like just being like the coach, you know, really trying to bring the best out in people and then trying to figure out like where they're at on, because I think what Martin touched on earlier a little bit is you're getting a range of skills coming in now because of the way we can interact digitally. So you're going to get the 12, 15-year-old beginner, you're going to get the 40-year-old dude coming back after 20 years. You're going to get the 67-year-old dude. So you're going to get a range of stuff. And so I've really tried to embrace, you know, being more of a coach, you know, kind of an idea of, because the technique's kind of always been there. The things that we do is we're not really doing a ton of stuff new in terms of like ideas, you know, because Hairspray came out in 2007 now. Like this isn't nothing. None of this is new or anything. So modulation's been around how long, Adam? Like what, at least a decade. So
at the same time.
Yeah. So it's like right now for me and what I'm trying to do, you know, on a professional level with the streams and the books, of course, too, is just really in terms of that teaching is just, I've embraced that fully. I don't compete anymore. That's not my goal right now. I can in the future. I would like to do something for World Model Expo next year if I can get something fresh and new on the table. I don't know if my schedule will allow for it, but I'm going to try, you know, because I'm going to be there. So, but other than that, like what are my goals? And like I said before, you know, growth of the company stuff, but really is what is the point of my product basis now is really education. It's really embracing that, what my position is in this hobby now, where I'm at with my life and career and everything like that. And now it's just disseminated. And like when Adam's talking about questions and stuff, is trying to be, you know, with integrity of trying to answer everybody fairly and honestly. I try not to yell at people. You know, some of the shit I get asked, to John's question earlier, like, what do we do that blows people away? I would say 9 out of 10 questions I get asked is the varnish question. When do you varnish? When do you not varnish? And the whole thing literally is like 90% of everybody asking me, like, I don't see you're not using the clears. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I just don't, you know, you're here, watch the streams. It's 15, 30 hours, whatever I've done of live streaming. You barely see like any clear coats going down. And so, you know, it's being the coach of Martin's perspective, just sharing what I'm doing one-to-one. There's no bullshit with, you know, just being honest with the whole thing. And then there's trying to help the varying skill sets come in and go as these guys, you know, they're what they're trying to achieve and try to help them. I figure if I can help the guys, the biggest reward for me has been on occasion, I'll get an email every now and then, not in COVID because we haven't had much shows, but before you'd get the guys go, dude, I don't even know who he is. You know, you get an email and, you know, hey, I put my stuff down on the table and, you know, I never used to get anything. And then for me, the biggest reward is when they would say, it was like, you know, I read your stuff and whatever, and I got a silver, you know, that whole thing. To me, that's what it's about. To me, that's really what, you know, I can pay the bills for sure, but that has been what I think is embracing that kind of, okay, I realize, okay, if I just focus on that, I can do okay. I think is kind of where I was going with that.
You know, Mike, you
No,
actually reminded me about something, and this might be one of the best character arcs in anime ever. Basically, when Mike sent me his 10-card book, he asked me for constructive critique. What I think about the book.
I did?
Yeah.
I was
so wrong back then, because back then I was in university and I was studying publishing and editing. And we were always taught that when you're making a tutorial, you need to speak in plural. We are now doing this. We are going to paint a model like this. And I critiqued Mike in the email, like, Mike, you are using I too much.
I get it a few times.
You're making everything about yourself. It's supposed to be a tutorial, but I was so wrong because Mike is in his books, he's sharing his perspective and his reasoning behind what he's doing. He's not making it a universal tutorial.
Yeah, I really wanted, I've always said this, I wanted it to be kind of like what this podcast is, like just a bunch of dudes at a bar having a beer, talking about what we're talking about. In more of a formal sense, but also I get so many guys writing me, dude, your English in the books and the grammar and, hey, I can proof and edit this stuff for you, whatever. And I'm like, no, you're missing the point. And it's like, I have to, not to be defensive, but like, I want to explain that was kind of, my point of view was always to be this with everybody, really. This is why I like what we're doing. But that's, I remember, now that you mentioned that, Martin, I actually remember that conversation in particular.
And you must have been thinking like, geez, what an idiot.
I mean, maybe for like a minute, but
Who is this Martin Red Kovac?
Right, whatever, dude. Like, go away.
Get out of here.
I want my book back. Again, can I hijack the podcast for a little more? Because Mike touched on not competing, and that's actually something I wanted to talk about for the longest time. Because, okay, let me give you the backstory, the expanded universe of this anime. Back in the day, I used to do a lot of live demos at our local modeling shows in Slovakia. Like pretty much every modeling show, they invited me. There were a bunch of other people always making workshops on modeling shows. And we always used to also enter the competition. So it was like you showed people what to do and how to do it, and then you won, 2 golds, Suddenly, after one show, there was this anonymous guy on a modeling forum. He was super rude. He was acting like a troll, but god damn it, he had a point. He was critiquing like, do you guys think it's okay to have a workshop and also compete? That's like Ronaldo entering a local football match and showing kids how to kick a ball and then also competing and winning on the winning team, right? And people were super dismissive about him because, again, he was super rude and everything. But it made me think, and I think after I processed his words, that was the last time I entered the competition, because he really had a point. Because at the end of the day, if you're invited to show people something, that's the golden prize you're getting, essentially. On the other hand, again, you can't please everyone. And like Adam said, this is typical for smaller countries when people are more vocal and more jealous and stuff like that. Basically, if you're competing and
the
doing
jealousy
workshops,
happens in the big countries too.
Or I know, but when you're competing, doing workshops, publishing in magazines, people are gonna critique you like, okay, you're stealing gold from other people, right? Then, for example, you decide, okay, they have a point. So you stop competing. You just go there, maybe bring a model, but it's out of the competition. And suddenly there are people saying, oh, he thinks he's too good for us, He's not even trying to compete with us anymore. Obviously, you can't please everyone.
Win.
Yeah, but what's your... I mean, it's kind of obvious what's your stance on this, right? You both are not competing anymore. But could you elaborate, maybe share some of your own cringe-worthy experiences with us?
When's Martin launching his own podcast? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
Well,
go ahead.
As far as competing, I haven't done it in a while either. I've done pretty well at some of the European shows, and some of those shows have the reputation of being the most competitive. And I just felt, whereas I did well there, give the new people coming in a chance to compete, get some awards, and get more confident. It took me, let me think, it probably took me about 2 years of going to a lot of the local shows and shows around New England, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, until I finally got like a bronze medal at some IPMS show. Since then, getting medals wasn't too difficult in awards, but after a while, I feel one where I do it professionally. Maybe it's a bit unfair. Now I was entering at Euro, and by then I was working in Spain. So, but as of now, I don't even really have the ambition to go to shows anymore. I like to take that spare time and do stuff that I can put up on the web, photograph and put on the web. There was a local show here recently, last year, that I've been going to since I was very young, and I didn't go. I just stayed home and did modeling that day. And as far as competing, I just don't see what winning awards at this stage would do for me personally. I'm more happy just photographing. Hey, how about this? If I could just get something new, photograph it, put it up, that makes me happy. Really, that's all.
That makes me happy too.
More than going to a show or anything.
Amen.
And more people are going to see it, and that's. I mean, I don't mind. Like a lot of people ask me to judge online stuff, online contests. I judge all this stuff all the time, and I don't mind that. That's fine. Judging, sure, I'll do that. But as far as entering, it's not, I guess it's just simply not that interesting to me anymore. I did, I would go give, in my younger days, sure, I would go give seminars. And the one you were talking about earlier, who was it? Was it you that said the judge there didn't like my work or something?
Oh, they were just hating on it.
Yeah, I did enter that show, and I did give a seminar at that show. I think that was my first big seminar out of New England that I got invited to. Boy, was I nervous.
Yeah, the nerve. I was going to say to Mose in 2017, dude, I don't think I'd been around for a while, maybe a year or so, 2 years. I don't think I'd been at a show. I'd skipped a year of travel, I think, in between 2016. Is when I was trying to print in China and things were starting to unwind for me business-wise. And I was like, oh, shit. And then I went to Mose and Garrigo had convinced me and, helped me get to the show and everything and made sure I was, because you go to Cold War Hungary and you just, there's no English. There's just nothing. Like you can travel through most of Europe with broken English pretty well, but Hungary was the radical exposure to, no. But I remember sitting at the seminar table, we're getting ready and they're all helping me out and they're getting the camera set up and stuff. And the room just started to fill up. I mean, just filled up. It was like, I don't know, maybe pushing 100 guys crowded in this little room. And it was just like, I just looked up and there was like all these eyeballs staring at me. And I just like froze. I'm like, oh shit. I got like really nervous. I was like, oh crap. And you kind of fumble around for the first 20 minutes, just trying to, and that's why I do the streams the way I do. Cause I have to fumble around for 20 minutes just to get the brain to get in the point of where I could do a demo and show what we need to show. So, but yeah, competing to Martin's question and everything. I think personally for me, my journey was, again, Missing Link has always been kind of the core base. And it was seeing everybody, everybody we're talking about, Peril of Lund, Marin Miguel, everybody, Adam, everybody, Dave Parker, all this stuff was going on. And so, Spud and everybody else. And it was getting in, Darren Thompson, and Kev Smith, Martin Smith, these guys. And it was getting over there. And then, okay, well, you have this kind of separation because of online. We don't really know each other. So when you go, to represent and to show up and even being an American in Europe was something where I was like, I've got to, as we say today, we got to flex, and that whole thing. So I was like, well, I better compete and I better show up. And these guys aren't going to give me an ounce of respect if I show up with nothing. You can't do that. So it was all about that a little bit in the beginning. A lot of that kind of male ego, kind of like, and you get the respect like from the Scandinavians and the Nordic crew and stuff like that. When they show up and like you put your model, you brought it over because that's all what they want to see. That's what everybody wants to see. And so you get that out of the way. So there was all that competition part. And then it was, can I prove myself by this? Can I really do this? Can I win a medal at a show that these were the guys I was looking up to and do that? And it took me 3 years to get the gold finally. And then when I got the gold at Euro, I brought like 4 models that year. And that was like, that was it. And then all that flooded away and I didn't have to do it anymore. And it kind of washed away the need to compete, that kind of thing. And I haven't had it really since, to be honest with you guys, and also because I'm just so focused on other stuff. And then book production work, I would try to, like, if you do competition level models for a book, like they don't go together because your books, not that I've been good with the books lately, but just to finish a project for a book at a competition, you're a military type level for a tank. It's the D9, the dozer, that was literally almost 8 months of painting and weathering, to get that look, to get it down, to get it right. You can't do that for a book, kind of a conversation. So then I started to back off all of that stuff. And now, kind of, I guess, what we're talking about, like with the YouTube production schedule, Martin, stuff like that. It's like, you can't, I believe personally, if I'm going to show up to compete, I'm going to bring my A game. And that's a sign of respect to everybody that's going to be there, because I want to compete against my buddies or whatever it is at the highest level possible. Because I want it to be that. I don't want to just throw something down that's I know is 90%. And that's what I did with the Tiger 1 in the book. When I knew when I put on the table at Euro, the gray Tiger, and I went back and redid it. I was super unhappy with myself on a personal note. And so competition is the thing, man. It's as much mental as it is anything else, because obviously the police are showing up, so I got to go. But I don't know if you guys can hear the sirens. But yeah, that's kind of competition is the thing. And like I said, if I can do something at World Model Expo next year in 2022, if that show goes off, okay. Yeah, and all our friends in Belgium and Germany with the floods and stuff, I hope that everybody's cool. But yeah, it's just one bad news story after another with Mother Nature. But yeah, that's kind of competition. It's a thing for sure.
Yeah, and I just want to keep on this theme real quick. Martin, I think you raised a really good question. And I think it's also important to acknowledge the U.S. competition scene, at least, and again, I haven't attended a show in Europe, but it looks completely different because it's really a display of art. And the closest thing we've gotten to that maybe was World Expo in Chicago, where I saw Adam's work on the table and some other fine artists as well, because it was just an incredible experience. I think that is lacking here in America.
Do you think maybe we need a show out there that has a reputation of being competitive that will pull in these modelers from around the world?
Mike said that exact same thing in the last time we talked to him. That's
what the U.S. In particular, specifically, Adam, is that we're missing that kind of an element where it doesn't have to be even the Nats, where I even think like maybe it rotates every 2 or 3 years because of the travel schedules of pulling in Asian and European modelers to America. Kind of a conversation, if that's a thing, or even, guys out of the, it's a big cost expense for everybody. It's not cheap. It's just like us going over there. It's this, and it's not getting any cheaper.
Well, it's not only the cost, it's not only the cost, Michael, it's the time.
Yeah. It's a big deal. So
was asked to travel during like spring break or something when I'm not teaching. That'll a couple days there, a couple days to get there, a couple days to get back. And my vacation's eaten up. I don't have the time to take an extra week to stay home and work on stuff here. Like you said,
Yeah, it's hard. But yeah, we don't have that here in North America, really. Like, I'd love to have a show that we were pulling these guys over to come over, like have everybody show up here. That would be fun.
I mean, Amps was doing that back in Havre de Grace for a while, but
a little bit.
That was, like 01, 02 time frame when Douglas Lee was there and Dan, is it Capuano?
Dan Quapano was his name?
Dan Capuano,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, super good stuff.
There's a dude that'll throw down a big ass diagram, Martin.
Jesus, yeah.
Capuano would throw down these mega things. It was
this thing's got its own freaking generates its own weather.
That's right. It's got its own zip code.
He should start a YouTube channel. He would be getting millions of views.
He wrote the book, the French dude that did the Chateau diorama 10 years, 15 years ago. That thing was like the whole table.
I can't remember that one.
When you mentioned being competitive on modeling shows and everything, did you guys know that modeling used to be a sport during the good old USSR days here? It used to be like a sport with strict rules, the levels of judges, like qualified judges, who had to undergo a sort of training of sorts every year or so. And so they were like level 5, level 2, level 1 judge. And you had very strict, being very limiting rules and guidelines on what you can actually enter into the competition. So you had to have everything backed up with references. The first one being the construction manual from the kit, because that was sort of proof of what kit you actually built, was the brand and everything. Kind of silly in my opinion. Yeah, then you, for example, had a standard kit category where you could, for example, with airplanes, you, for example, couldn't open the engine bay or gun bays or something. You could, for example, position the flaps and so, but you couldn't open anything except the cockpit and the landing gear. Okay. And then you had some other category, I don't know, super kit or whatever, where you could go all in, with wires, no aftermarket, because back then there was no aftermarket. People were casting details from plaster and so on. Yeah, it was super restrictive, and people those veterans, they tend to say like Jeep from Tamiya was the best competitive model out there. The good old Jeep from Tamiya, you know? And the judging, it would take like 4 or 6 hours. And it was a 2-day event. And I don't know, I think from my perspective, I never experienced something like that. It's just crazy. Like the judging system you see in Mossen Show, for example, that super watered down version of that. That's like making 5 cups of tea from one tea bag. Some people, they are still trying to revive this system here because I understand. On one hand, they say it's the most objective way of judging models, right? But on the other hand, would you guys care about something like that? I personally wouldn't, like, at all.
It sounds a little timely.
Exactly. and restrictive, you know? Adam, for example, some Adam Wilder would never win anything because he's just building paper panzers. No references for that except for the instruction sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would struggle with the what if categories, wouldn't they?
Yep.
No sponsons.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The judges, they would touch the model, turn it around, measure the geometry.
I think one of those guys is working at the airport in Turkey right now.
You still have that in the U.S. where some judges they just want to touch it, and it's like, God damn it.
Yeah. Grow up. Don't do that. Bad. That's bad.
Yeah, I was a little story. I was at a show, it was a local show, and somebody took photographs of the judges picking up models and posted on Hyperscale. Ooh, that was good drama back in the day. Network 54.
Contentious.
Yeah, contentious to say the least.
I mean, it tends to happen to this day. Like, they touch a model, they leave a fingerprint in the pigments. That's why I don't use pigments. Another reason. Something. Stay away from pigments, kids. Or I don't know, break an antenna or
I've had
a
that.
machine gun, whatever. Or sometimes they would just pick up the model and would just flip over, fall on the table. And you were actually signing up for when you were entering the show, like you're acknowledging the risk of that happening.
Well, flying with TSA, you know, they open the case up when you're going through the belt thing, and they're like, "Oh, what's this? Wait, I haven't put it on the table yet."
You know, there was something I put on the table too when I left to get like a drink of water or do whatever, and I came back, and some guy came up and started talking to me, and someone I'd never met before, and he seemed like he was happy to meet me. And as he started asking, he had some question. I looked over on the table, and someone had broken something off one of mine. And I interrupted him and started cussing and saying, "Oh my God, blah, blah, blah." And I'm sure I made a real good impression on this guy here for the first freaking time. I forget where, I think that was Euro Militaire, actually.
You think everybody would know by now not to touch our shit.
I mean, it should be in the rules
Hands
or
off.
something.
Well, they put up signs on the table depending upon the show. You know, don't touch the models, you know.
Yeah, or in Mossen Show, you can actually say tell them on the label if the model is glued to the base or not.
Oh, yeah. So yeah.
That's pretty cool. But I remember, Adam, when
a
you
good
were in
show.
Slovakia and you were moving from the demo room to the showroom or the competition room, and you were just going to put your models on the table so people can see them. And you asked me to help you bring them over, right? And
I got a photo of that.
Exactly. And you told me that I should bring the Grilli 17 centimeter gun. And you said that, oh, by the way, the gun is broken off. And okay, I don't want to do anything with that. Give me the bear instead.
No, I got a picture of you carrying that model too.
Yeah. And
I hate touching other guys' models.
Seconds before tripping over and smashing the model on the floor.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a fun show, actually. That was
I remember.
We got a nice country.
Fun fact, guys. Both times I met Adam, I had to pay for his beers because his credit card was always rejected.
No, that sounds like me. And you know, well, yeah.
But to his credit, he always sent the money back through PayPal.
Yeah, it's good to have friends like Martin pay for your beer for you. I'm sure Mike could be the same way, right, Mike?
I had all the times I've traveled in Europe before the credit cards with the international chip in them, I almost always had problems. Even if I called the banks and stuff, and I just brought cash eventually. Just exchanged the cash. Yeah, it was always the U.S. credit card thing is hard, and they have the different Now it's much better. But before, like if you were going to a restaurant and say you're out and about, and then they have the little holder that the waiter brings around to put your card in, and you do it right there at the table. Like we didn't really have that here for a while. Yeah, it never would work. It's always embarrassing. Somebody always have to pay for me. It's much better today, but yeah, it used to be pretty rough over there.
No, it's pretty good.
I liked it there, actually.
You Westerners, you have a very, very, very not true idea about Eastern Europe. To
Mike
be honest.
and I don't. We've been there. Hey, I lived in Eastern Europe for a while, but I was there for 4 years.
Oh yeah, Adam was in a far Eastern Europe.
That's fine. Like Russia was an acquired taste, but once I got used to it, I understood why the Russians love it there so much.
And when Mike, when you said that you always just exchange, just pick up local cash. So when you were in Hungary, you had to be a millionaire because Hungarian forint, it's like you pay 10 grand for one dinner in Hungary.
Exactly.
You had to be a millionaire.
I was hanging out with Roman. Yeah, I was hanging out with Roman Velchenkov. He's Russian, of course, and he couldn't even handle the Hungarians in the translate. Like none of us could figure anything out with anything. Like we couldn't even order a beer. Like it was just there's no level of English interaction in at that time. Like I remember the young girl serving us beers and stuff, and like you literally had to like hold a beer up from somebody else to take one point yourself, and like you couldn't even say, "Can I get a beer?" Like the word doesn't, like it was a whole thing, and yeah, I think Mosen, I not to brag, I think most people bought me shit, so I didn't have to worry too much.
Yeah,
guys were just like, here you go. They fed me and they all that good stuff.
What I remember the most about Mosen were the restaurants after everyone getting together. It was such a grand time. It was a lot of fun.
Well, they had that big beer hall we were hanging out in for a while.
I think we went to the same place the year I was there before you. That year before you.
Yeah, Gergo does a good job.
Yeah, he was the guy who brought us around too. Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, he's also a mountain biker.
Competitive mountain biker.
Is he?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He competes, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he's more of a cross country guy, so
cross-country,
more like distance, elevation, not so much NAR.
Yeah.
Probably safer thing to do. He didn't break anything yet, as far as I know.
Knock on wood.
I was going to ask, have they scheduled 2022 for Mosen, or is it still up in the air?
I think they were trying something in Budapest this summer.
Okay.
But I don't know if it happened or if it's going to happen or not. I
really like that sports hall they used from the school that got built out for that. That was new when we were there.
The brand new one,
really nice
right?
Facility. Yeah, it was a nice facility. The whole town comes out. The whole town comes through to watch the show. Even the families and the wives are just people. It's like an event in the town, and they just all come through and check it out.
It is, yeah. And also all the food prices go up that weekend and everything.
Tourism.
But seriously, that's what happens.
No, nice.
Yeah, that was a good show. It was fun.
So
I'm glad I went. I'm glad I got to experience it. At least once.
Martin, do you typically fly to that event, or do you take a train down?
No, it's like an hour drive.
Oh my gosh! Okay,
I'll say mountain bikes.
Close. Yeah.
Fully on completely. Most of the drive is on a highway, so that's pretty cool. And then it's just 20 kilometers on country roads or the lower level roads, so it's pretty cool. And I only went there. I went there for the whole event several times in the good old days when we were going as a group of friends from around here. But nowadays, when nobody likes me anymore, it's more like I just go alone. I just go alone on Friday. I don't bring models or anything. I don't drink. I just go to meet a bunch of friends there. Alex from Solid Scale, for example, and also Oscar Ebri from Spain. So we just have a dinner, a couple of beers, zero alcohol, of course, for me, and then I just go home around midnight. So it's totally just a social event for me. And then I don't go back. Saturday I go for a ride, go break a few bones and stuff like
that. Ride on a helicopter.
Was that your first helicopter ride, Martin?
Yeah, and hopefully the last.
I was going to say, what was the copter? And did you get any good pictures of the stuff? Did you because that's what I would have done. I would have been.
The doctor was super nice. That was one of the nicest doctors I ever met. He was super friendly, encouraging. He took a picture of me when I was hanging in the net like 50 meters above the ground. And he was constantly, giving me the thumbs up, like everything is okay, you're doing great, we're going to patch you up and everything. But let me tell you, I was scared shitless because I have fear of heights. And when I was hanging in that net, it wasn't like your US nets, like really sturdy nets. This was like a net from a pack of oranges.
Somebody bought on Amazon in China.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like your safety net from Wish. And
That'd be a great thumbnail.
And
made for a great thumbnail on YouTube.
I just accepted my fate. My fate. Like, if I'm gonna fall from this, there's nothing I can do about it. So I just focused on the chopper above me. I didn't look to the sides. And then we suddenly landed. There was no, I couldn't feel any thump or anything. It was super smooth. And then when they carried me into the chopper, it was really nice, like really comfy. I had a nice view. The sun was setting. I saw both castles that were along the way. We have lots of castles here in Slovakia. So, yeah, it was awesome. But honestly, I just wasn't happy about it, obviously. I think that's understandable.
Well, Martin, they could have put a safety rope around your neck in case the net ripped or something.
Yeah, I think that would help.
Well, Scott had told me you got hurt, and it didn't sound. He was like, "Oh yeah, he hurt his ankle or something." So we'll see. And then, I had no idea.
No, I completely shattered both of my shin bones. Completely shattered, slightly moving to the side. Apparently, they couldn't find all the bones inside when they were operating me. Exactly. Yeah.
But what, did you fall off a cliff or something? How did you do this?
That was the stupidest thing, because I crashed on really mellow stuff. If you're enduro or downhill rider, it was super mellow. Imagine just a set of stairs, but they're made out of rocks which are jagged and
Bits
pointing out of the
glass
ground.
In them.
And that was completely fine, but there was a huge rock at the end which you just need to avoid. And I got knocked off my line and I hit it. I didn't go over the bars, which, by the way, could have been probably better outcome. But I was just launched to the side on my bike, and pretty much I still tried to stay on the bike, which probably was also a mistake. And basically, my bike was pushed against my leg with all my body weight. So I it shattered both bones. So I still didn't get around to it, but I feel like I should give the bike and overall just Specialized a 5-star review, because their frames are really tough. Instead of snapping, they snap the rider.
Oh.
And when they talk about the bike like it's confidence inspiring, this is it. It's so confidence inspiring that you become overconfident and you get hurt.
Was the bike damaged?
No, luckily nothing.
Oh, well, that's good. As long as the bike's okay.
Not a scratch, because I have frame protection kit over it against scratches.
Martin took the brunt of that one. The bike didn't.
Yeah, nothing. Just one cable was loosened, but I fixed that while on crashes, so bike is okay. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. But at least it wasn't an arm or something. So I can still.
How long is the heal time for you? 6 months or so? 4 months?
Jesus Christ! Don't scare me like that. No, they said 6 weeks, and I should be able to stand on my own. Tonight, it's actually a month since the crash. I crashed 4 weeks ago on Saturday about 5 p.m. Yeah, so now it's 4 weeks, and in 6 weeks I'm scheduled for an X-ray checkup. And logic tells me that the usual bone healing time is 6 weeks. They usually take off your cast after 6 weeks. So I'm hoping for that. But if not, 1 or 2 more weeks didn't kill anyone yet. Yeah, and then obviously physical rehab and everything. So I think if
by the end of summer you'll be walking.
Yeah, and if everything goes well, September, October, I should be able to at least ride some very mellow stuff. Take it easy and safe and everything. So.
Yeah, I can echo your feelings about at least it wasn't your hands or your arms, as I also mountain bike, and then with my job too, hand injuries are common because we build shit, and that's the one thing I'm always afraid. Well, because my dad lost a finger at work, so I'm like, that could be me. Then what am I gonna do?
Yep, exactly. So
I thought TJ fell asleep for a second.
No. I'm here.
I mean, the biggest lesson from this, and we can probably apply this to anything. So, if you're just a hobbyist, it's better to keep the hobby as a hobby, because if you try to push yourself too hard or impress your friends or whatever, or do anything stupid, you can pay a really nasty price for it. So, if you're a hobby mountain biker, there's no shame in being slow or avoiding certain features. There's nothing wrong with that.
Words of wisdom's out there, everybody. Pro tip.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen.
Well, guys, this has been a lot of fun. As we kind of start to wrap up, is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about?
Well, as I see the 2 hour and 30-minute mark, whoever is going to edit this.
Yeah, have fun.
Scott.
Yeah.
Big bucks.
You guys do a pretty good job editing, by the way.
That's all Scott.
Yeah, it's not bad. I enjoy listening to these over and over again.
1 year anniversary, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
It goes by fast, doesn't it?
It does.
It really does. It really does. We kind of got the idea, and then we talked about as a group what we wanted to do. We wanted to be a little different, kind of provide, like Mike said earlier, a replacement for the conversations you'd have with your buddies at the hobby store. And we wanted to be a positive method of social interaction for the hobby. And so we focus on that, try to be positive and interesting. And it's been great. We owe all three of you guys a lot of thanks for being willing to come and talk to us on the podcast. We've really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having us again.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's always a lot of fun.
No, I like talking to you guys.
Pleasure's definitely ours. And stating the obvious, you guys always have an open invitation.
Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you guys are great. We do a lot of good stuff. I appreciate it.
I'd also just personally like to echo what Scott said and thank all three of you. It really, not to get too mushy, but it's kind of made my year getting a chance to talk to three people that I admire in so many levels, and it's awesome. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I mean, you guys, you're doing an amazing job with the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I told Scott when Adam was there, I don't know what you gave him, but or what you did to him.
Well, he emailed me that a couple weeks later. Adam, I listened to the
Adam,
podcast.
you were on fire, man.
Yeah, gee, I haven't seen you that happy in a long time. Yeah,
ever.
I know.
Again, just appreciate all you guys so much and what you've done. All of you have been really, really generous. You didn't have to do this. I mean, Martin, I know when we started talking to you about coming on the show at first, you were really nervous about your English. And I was just like,
yeah,
your English is awesome, man.
You make videos in English. What are you talking about?
Americans.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I listened to that podcast, to that episode, 3 times probably, just for nostalgia's sake, and it was so much cringe there.
I did the same thing. No, I did the same thing. I'm like, man, I sound like a redneck. What am I thinking?
Well, Martin, if that's the way you feel about it, there's only one thing we can do. You're gonna have to come back on, and we'll do it again.
Keep working on it.
Round 2. And for real this time.
And then, Mike, you've always been, oh my gosh, you've always been so generous with me. And, I know you have so many people that want your time and just appreciate your friendship and everything else. So thank you so much, you guys. I hope this was as much fun for you as it was for us. John?
Yeah, it was great. Thanks so much. If anything, I really hope we can get together in person sometime. I've had the opportunity to meet Mike and, Adam and, BS around a modeling table and look at each other's work. And it's really inspiring, just like this conversation. And Martin, I hope to make it over to Europe sometime once shows start. And maybe we can, the first round's on me at Mosin. I'd love to buy you beer and catch up.
Well, our card is probably going to be rejected. So first round's on me.
I think I also want to say I appreciate, and I probably speak for a lot of people in a sense that you guys are very open to people asking you questions. And I've certainly ran into some people that don't answer questions, but I've always felt welcome answering or asking anything. Oh yeah. I mean, you just, you guys have been always open to any question that I've ever asked. And I really appreciate it. So thanks for this. And I hope we can do it again.
Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
The fact that you are approachable, that you are willing to share and help people really makes a difference. Social media, it's easy to point out the flaws and how negative it is, but the age that we live in where modelers can collaborate and people can have conversations like that, you guys taking the opportunity to do that in a positive way and to contribute to the community makes a difference for everybody from just a beginner to more advanced modelers to friends of yours. So I want to acknowledge with each one of you guys your contributions and that they're much appreciated.
Thank you.
Your efforts are also very much appreciated, because you can really create this very friendly atmosphere in your podcasts, and it really feels like sitting in a pub and just chatting, or just listening to a bunch of guys having a good time. So same thing right now. I'm so pumped right now that I'm probably not even going to be able to fall asleep.
Oh, that's right.
That's
yeah,
probably
I forgot how late.
what's it like 10 p.m. there?
It's like
Martin? 11 p.m.
Yeah, it's almost 11.
Yeah,
that's pretty okay.
No, it's not. That's nothing.
No, you're a half hour behind Monica.
I just get warmed up around 10, 11 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, Uncle Night Shift and everything.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm a morning guy,
man.
Thanks, you guys. Really, really appreciate it. And hopefully it won't be too long and we can do this again.
Appreciate
we'll
it.
do it soon.
Exactly. That would be awesome.
Great talking to you, Martin, finally. All that good stuff.
Exactly.
Good hearing you again, Adam.
Yeah, you too, Mike. It's been a while. All right, guys.
John, right. TJ, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for putting this together and putting the time in.
Yeah, thank you.
Man, that was so great. Guys, that was, talk about an absolute blast, talking to those guys, like with a lot of roundtables, it took kind of a minute to get going. But, once we got going, it's pretty clear that those guys have so much respect for each other and admiration for each other. And they've all been they've all influenced each other, so what a blast. Just a reminder that you can leave us feedback about this or any other episode of our show over on our Plastic Posse Facebook page, or you can email us at plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com. We want to thank our Posse supporters once more and also give another shout out to our two awesome sponsors, Tankcraft and Sean's Custom Model Tools. Remember, there is no wrong way to enjoy your hobby, and hopefully we'll see a lot of you in Las Vegas.
We had some conversations before about how long these podcasts have gotten, and our friend Glenn, I believe his last, Glenn Fellon from Ireland. Glenn asked when we were going to do a 4-hour episode. Well, here you go, Glenn.
This one's going to be pretty close.
This is going to be close. And I promise we're going to back off a little bit, I think, in the future. But this has been fun. Thank you so much for joining us on our 1-year anniversary episode. We're super excited. We're going to meet some of you at IPMS Nationals in Las Vegas, Nevada, the day this drops. So to all you in the posse and to each of you, thanks for an amazing year. We'll be back in 2 weeks with our regular segments and more awesome content about scale modeling, the hobby that we all love so much. Until then, yeehaw!
Doug's kind of our benchmark yeehaw.
That was a
guy.
damn good yeehaw.
It's a 1-year anniversary. I kind of had to, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Pro show.
Yeah, Scott, you do a great job, bud.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and you're great with presenting.
I remember
questions.
his first little, hey, Mike, I'm going to do a podcast. Can you help me out? I'm like, what? No, dude, I don't want to talk. Come on. Get me on this shit. What are we doing? And here we are a year later, and, look at what's going on. So yeah, this has been good. This is, I was going to say, the part of my streaming, or, one of the reasons I was doing what I was doing now is getting comfortable conversationally, getting comfortable on camera, getting comfortable, one-to-one with a lot of stuff. Doing the interviews the interviews for me have been a big bridge for me to understand that I can do what I'm trying to do right now a lot easier. So it's been, it's just as good for me to, all this is just great experience. Practice. Because it's easy to write the books and just kind of do my thing in a little cubbyhole and, everybody leave me alone.
Oh, I gotcha. I know how you feel.
Yeah.
That's kind of the gist of modelers. We're all a little bit solitary by nature, I think.
Well, it's when you guys first emailed me about the podcast too. My attitude was the same thing. It's like, oh man, I don't know. But no.
Well, this is my third or fourth one, so I'm like, oh, let's do it.
Yeah.
Come on, let's do it.
Martin, I don't want to interrupt Mike and Adam before, but one thing I wanted to acknowledge since you've been on with us is I love the element of your videos where it's not just how you're modeling and the creation and the art of it, but how you're looking at different ways of doing things and becoming more efficient as you do it. Replacing a technique that took you 6 hours with one that only takes you like an hour. That's been really fascinating to follow along with and really, really cool.
Well, it's kind of, that's the only way to go unless you want to have zero social life and everything, and invest everything into just into modeling. You have to become more efficient because honestly, armor modeling is one of the most inefficient, on-time, unfriendly things out there.
Yeah.
If you want to do it properly,
Yep. Efficiency equals speed.
Yep.
I agree.
I've arrived. Sorry.
TJ, come on, man.
I'm sorry. So we had friends from France visiting. So we were seeing them and we did not get home as fast as I thought we were going to.
And you managed to finish 2 more models in the meantime.
Exactly, Martin.
I love his backdrop. He looks like he's sitting in the cockpit of something. Or
more like
me, I got a closet door and some stuff hanging on the wall.
That's a great shirt, TJ. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
It's funny. Now that you say that, I've thought about it, especially with them tarps and stuff. Yeah. That's interesting.
Like that's one trick that I learned from Mike. When you have a tarp that's sort of folded so we can see both sides, so you paint each side with a slightly different shade, and that's all it needs. And then he just puts pigments on it. He speckles some grime stains on it with oil paints, and it looks just amazing, And back in the day, I was also doing it. I did it on a 1/48 scale KV1, and it looked just. Well, I don't want to blow my own whistle, but it looked really good. Because Mike, and the thing is, Mike never really described the technique in detail. I just observed it from photos, and it makes it even
never
more.
Thought anybody cared. I'm like,
so yeah.
Before Adam answers this question, let me just say to Martin's observation there. The reason is because I remember, particularly a few times at Euro, I ran into like Jaume Ortiz and Tayson and all the heavy figure painter guys that we're talking about, like where they're like the figure painting thing is its own world. What I realized was like when you try to follow those guys and put those on, like in particular on my tanks, it doesn't work because it's literally 2 styles on the same thing. And it's the same thing with the stowage conversation where they paint stowage in that kind of manner of, like you said, highlights and shadows and stuff. I don't paint any of my tanks that way. So when the stowage was going on in that process, I actually had to like stop and redo everything and kind of a David Parker it a little bit, where his style is kind of that way, where it's like it's kind of the basics, and you're kind of almost letting your lighting, your natural light, give you those things. And I was like, oh, well, because I would study this stuff. I'm like, look at my T-shirt. I'm like, all these things, and I'm like, okay, that's what. So that's where it all happened from, because I can't do a Jaume Ortiz stowage on my tank. It just doesn't. They don't go together for me. I was fighting it. I was really trying to study them and fight. I couldn't do it. That's how that happened.
So here's a challenge. Try pulling it off on a figure, and then you'll blow the world away again completely.
Yeah, I do. I want to get some figures going and stuff. I have to.
But with no shading.
Challenge accepted.
Basic colors and pigments.
Yeah. Yeah, I've started to get some cool pigment tech stuff going too, so that'll be fun.